The only Democrat I think that we've seen that hasn't had insane turnout are ultra progressive Democrats, are the only ones that are not overperforming.
That's not true.
Liberal, boring.
There have been progressive. There was a progressive in Texas, in the Texas Senate against a Republican, and that seat shifted by like 32 points. This just happened like a month ago.
Well, that could have been 50 points maybe if it was not a super progressive.
Well, you're saying that we should talk about your hypotheticals more than we should be talking about the actual results.
State governments have enormous power to do things and tell the federal government to pound sand. And the federal government can't just say, no, I win. I'm bigger. It doesn't work that way.
Again, this is straight from the AG's mouth. They can just take that court case and put it in a federal court. And at that point, they would just toss it out. You think that a judge is going to sign off on the federal
Why did it happen this time?
Because they're investigating something that happened in 6 years ago, Dan. There's not going to be a judge
outside the statute of limitations, Hutch.
I don't think
that's
true.
Why are they there in the first place?
How did they get a warrant from a judge then? I found this conversation the least aggravating. You were willing to flesh out hypotheticals, I think, a lot more. I may disagree with your hypotheticals, but you were actually like giving it that kind of thought. You know what, Dan? I'm going to give you number one. I'm going to say number one. You, of all the people, you had the most compelling arguments. All right, so you had some disagreements with me about some of my recent takes.
I think I did, but I'm not sure what. I know that I'll disagree with you. I just don't know what it's going to be on. That's why I was asking IRI what you've said, because then I'd be able to. Because I disagree with IRI a bunch. He's very hopium pilled, and I'm very not that.
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty hopium filled. Not like, not we're completely out of the woods and we have nothing to worry about, but kind of bullish on our chances in the short term.
Well, I also know that you were what was the other thing? I'm for scaring the shit out of
drastic measures.
Yeah, like right now today. I'm for scaring them today, because I think that you can, by scaring them today, I think that you get something that you can do besides waiting for November.
Yeah, I keep hearing this argument. I genuinely have no idea what it's based on. You guys seem so confident that if the Democrats wield government with an iron fist and then direct these agencies in ways that are like politically motivated to target and harass and criminally charge the Republicans for things like, speeding tickets and, these kinds of like little things. I don't understand where you get the confidence that this would dissuade them. Like, Donald Trump was indicted in 4 different jurisdictions, found guilty of 34 felonies in one jurisdiction, was facing down 3 other sets of felony charges.
I think Trump is like a special case, but like we've seen that other people have, like, the J6ers, they did go to jail. Like, yes, they got pardoned, but like they went to jail, and other people were not pleased as a result of what happened in Georgia, right? Like, Cheeseborough and all those other guys getting their mugshots and getting arraigned and all that jazz, like that was not a pleasing thing to have happen to them. And I think that while they may think that Trump is going to pardon everyone there, I think that if people think that, first off, Trump won't be able to solve their issues, like they might lose everything, all of a sudden the allure of like, oh, we're going to have a really sick 2 to 3 years right now might be outweighed by the fact, like, but I might go to jail if this guy does not become God Emperor for life. Like, I might actually go to jail and lose everything. So maybe I should be a little bit more careful when the elections for the midterms come and they're telling me, my boss says that I have to go there and detain Hispanic people. Maybe I'm not going to do that because I don't want to go to jail if this goes south. And I think that's important to have people understand that there's more than Trump is God Emperor for life. There's also like the other side, and maybe we want people dissuaded from getting super frisky and doing that type of wild stuff.
Well, all the stuff that happened in Georgia, I support. I think that was good, and I support all the other criminal charges against Trump. I wish that.
Is your argument that like doing this would empower Trump, like charging people is going to rile up his base or something?
No, it depends on how you do it. So, like, if the next DOJ comes in, I'm just a big pragmatic person, and I don't like to to spend a lot of time talking about things that are very, very, very unlikely to happen, just really implausible. And I
What's
think
implausible to you? Because I think it's pretty likely he's going to do everything he can to try and sway the election so that he wins for the midterm.
he can try, but I'm more talking about the method of how you go after Republicans. It really just depends. So I get a little confused when I hear suggestions like use the agencies and use the government power to go after them for like parking tickets.
Do you think? Okay, well that was more of a meme, but like as a non-meme one, do you think that there's probably some state charges that they could theoretically get an indictment for against like Kristi Noem or whoever else for things that took place with the whole immigration fiasco that just happened? Like maybe they can get some state charges over
I hope
the killings.
I hope so.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So how do you think about that? Should they do that today? Should some state charges be issued against Kristi Noem?
So I'm not a legal expert. My understanding is that them serving in the administration does shield them pretty considerably against individual state charges. But if there was a Georgia prosecutor or a Minnesota prosecutor that felt like they had a case and wanted to take them to trial for crimes, I'm fully on board with that.
Do you think? I know you're not an attorney. I'm not an attorney. And certainly, you could say that illegal orders, or illegal, just like police officers enjoy qualified immunity, right? But
Yeah.
if the thing that they're doing is illegal, and it's a pretty clear-cut illegal thing, there's no protection for that. Meaning, if a cop superior tells his cop junior, "Hey, go kill that homeless guy outside. He's fucking annoying me," we wouldn't expect them to be like, "Well, he was doing that in the service of duty."
Right.
In the same way, if there was an FBI agent that told, and that's a federal position, let's say there's an FBI supervisor and told his junior that's working out of Albuquerque, he says, "I want you to go kill Walter White. I'm tired of all this bullshit. We got to end this fucking blue meth. I don't care. Just kill the motherfucker." And he did it. You would expect that the state would be able to say, "Well, I don't really give a shit that you're federal. It was a blatantly illegal thing. You can't just go execute a guy because it's difficult to prosecute him." Right?
Right. Yeah.
So there really isn't, if the thing that is taking place we consider to be illegal, and that can be easily proven in court, then there should be state charges brought against these people for doing illegal acts.
Yeah.
Like for instance, yeah.
If there are crimes that are taking place at the state level and
Sure.
Trump's presidency doesn't shield his cabinet from legal accountability, then you should prosecute 1,000%. But that's never really been the source of disagreement that I have with like Destiny and DGG, because what they're talking about goes well beyond that, and they don't.
How so?
Well, all right. So for example, like I've heard Destiny unironically say that we should charge like basically every sitting Republican currently with aiding and abetting an insurrection, and remove them from office and bar them from ever running for office again. I've heard there's a wide spectrum of things that I've heard. So I've heard basically like do Nuremberg 2.0. You don't even necessarily have to like come up with any existing statute or crime to charge them with. You just detain them. And if, for example, the Supreme Court says, well, you can't do that, they have rights, then a lot of DGG and Destiny himself have indicated that they are open to just basically ignoring the Constitution.
Well, I think that you don't need to make up stuff. I think that there's plenty of very specific laws that have been, depending on the person, been broken each time.
I agree.
And I think that you can get creative with it and have a court figure it out. It's really like with grand juries and everything else. There's a certain amount of the prosecutor thinks there's the case, and they bring that case, and the jury or the grand jury or whatever agrees or disagrees and proceeds forward. So even in the case of Preddy, right? Like you could say, did Kristi Noem, when she directly ordered the officers involved to leave the state and continue working, was she involved with aiding and abetting or concealing evidence or
Yeah, but
something
all
along
that's
those lines.
fine. All that's fine. I agree with all
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So, but I think most people want to see stuff like that happen instead of Democrats kind of just sitting by doing nothing and just being like, oh, well, we got to wait for November, you know?
Well, I mean, I want to see that too, and I would fully expect that if there are like democratically aligned prosecutors within the states that find crimes, that they'll pursue criminal charges. We saw that the last time in Georgia. There was, I think, another criminal case that was, they were working on one in Michigan, maybe another one in New York, but again, like the system threw the book at Donald Trump in 4 different jurisdictions. The problem wasn't that the system was not working as intended. The problem was that the process began too late, and Merrick Garland had waited too late to appoint a special counsel. But everything you're describing is within the boundaries of the Constitution and the law, and that's fine. But what Destiny was saying in my argument with him was, I was proposing to him the possibility, or I think the likelihood, that after Donald Trump serves out his second term and leaves office, he will issue a blanket pardon to himself and everybody in his cabinet that didn't piss him off. And the Supreme Court immunity ruling complicates things too. So the next DOJ might be really hindered by these two things and their ability to pursue criminal charges. And then at that point, it is up to the states to determine if they want to pursue criminal charges, which I support. But when I bring this up, Destiny's argument was, I would ask him, like, how are you going to get around this? These are like pretty significant obstacles to getting the thing done. And he was saying, well, basically, the how is not really important, because as long as we all agree that the ultimate outcome needs to happen, like Donald Trump facing accountability, going to prison, his cabinet going to prison, these kind of, as long as we agree on these things, then you can just get there.
Let me ask you something
what he was saying.
To clarify this a little bit. Would you agree that there's nothing besides essentially tradition that keeps more Supreme Court judges from being seated right now?
There's nothing more than a law. Like with the last time we expanded the court, it came from a law. So you can you can pass a law to pack the courts. You can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the tradition has been that when people have the majority, they don't change the law to increase that, even though they may have more or less representation of the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think would be happening right now if Trump did not have the Supreme Court and he felt like it wasn't going to go his way? Do you think that he would pack the court?
He might ask for that to happen, but he wouldn't. This is an argument that I got into, another argument that I got into with Stephen, but he would not have the support to do that. Like the current Congress would not give him extra Supreme Court justices. They just wouldn't.
Why?
Because he wouldn't have the votes in the Senate. There's like more than a few, kind of institutionalists in the Senate on the Republican side and on the Democratic side who would like never consider doing something like that, because they view that as like a nuclear arms race that is completely unacceptable. And so he just very simply would not have the support in Congress to do that.
I disagree. And I think that we can just look to the fact that we literally have just like essentially invaded Iran, stolen the Venezuelan president, and not only does he have full support from his squad, he has some fucking Democrats that are tagging along for this as well.
Well, the president the president has way more latitude to do foreign policy stuff unilaterally than he does to pack the court. He just frankly, under the current interpretation of the Constitution, that this is what the cabinet is saying, and people can challenge it in court, and I imagine they will in terms of like war power stuff. But he has the ability to fucking send in 5 Chinooks into Venezuela and kidnap Maduro, or start bombing Iran, and the mechanism to challenge that would be through the Congress or through the courts. And so,
do you think the president has the ability to declare anyone himself as a terrorist and then go extract them from wherever they are? Can he just wake up tomorrow and declare that, the president of South Korea is a terrorist and go exfil him to the United States? Is that in his power?
I mean, he probably thinks that, but again, you would have to challenge, like if he were to do something like that, the mechanism that you would use to challenge that authority would be through the Congress or through the courts.
Okay.
So, but you would agree, right, that he He can just pick up the phone and order the military to go into Venezuela and do that. And, you know, he can just do that, right? Like, he can't just add Supreme Court justices. Like, he would have to go through the Congress to do that. And so it is different from foreign policy.
There's a lot of what should happen and what does happen as well. Like, what should happen in a lot of these circumstances is not what does happen. What does happen is that he produces some wacky executive order, and then things get done and they don't get challenged, or they get challenged and they get tied up in the Supreme Court, or they don't see them or everything, and then that becomes that, and then it's a reactive situation.
Well, a lot of it gets blocked too. A lot of it gets blocked in the courts too.
Sure.
He's had a number of things like blocked in the courts.
So are you against the idea that if the Democrats took power, knowing how fragile things are right now, to pack the court, and then the example I've given in the past is make DC a state, make Puerto Rico a state. How do you feel about that?
I am on board with all of those things to varying degrees, but like as far as packing the court goes, I guess the only reason I think about, like, the only opposition I have to that is that it just doesn't seem very, very plausible right now. It just doesn't seem very likely that they're going to have the kind of...
Get it done. Let's say you could get it done.
Yeah,
let's say
I would
that
support
there's
it.
Like this huge like fuck Trump movement that happens.
Yeah, I would support it.
We're 2.5, 3 years from now, and
I would support it. Yes,
you would support it. I would too. I think that that's something that should happen. So disagreements. So I don't think that we should. First off, I don't think that there should be too much federally happening, because I think that's kind of pointless. But I do think that Democrats need to pull out a lot of their inner Roger Stone and realize that the future of the country is on the line. And
wait, hold on. When you say the federal stuff doesn't matter, what do you mean by that?
Well, the Democrats can't accomplish anything, essentially.
Right now, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But what they can do is they can do things in states. So I think that Democrats need to, as I said, pull out a lot of that inner Roger Stone. Winning is winning, and save the country, essentially, and slow down a lot of the illegal things that are happening and the cruel things that are happening. And the best way of doing that is making people realize that, you know what, Kristi Noem, she might be protected. She might. Trump might issue a pardon for her. Trump might even go so far as to put pressure on the state, saying, if you charge this person, I'm going to cut off your funding and I'm going to do all this and all that. Like, that's possible. But what isn't going to happen is the people that are under Kristi Noem, maybe 2 levels under them, the ones that are actually doing the killings or doing illegal acts as defined by the state. These people are not going to have that level of protection. And I think that if it is known by most people in the news and the media that ICE agents are getting arrested by state courts and Trump can't do anything about it, or that people who are doing crypto crimes, even though the federal government isn't prosecuting that type of stuff before, they're still getting charged by the state. If companies, even though the Clean Water Act or whatever is gone, even though all of these things are gone, states still have a lot of power to say, well, we can just do it on our own. And I think they should do that. And I think that if you start seeing massive state actions towards these people that don't rely on the federal government, I think it scares the shit out of the people that say, I really like my job. It's pretty cool that I'm the director of Homeland Security, but I kind of don't want to go to jail for the rest of my life if Trump loses power. And that slows them down today.
But everything you're describing now is fine. Like, these things are doable.
But they're not doing them. They're not doing them, though.
Well,
that's the issue.
What do you mean they're not doing them? I mean, like, let me get at this.
Do you even know the names of the people that killed Preddy?
No. Do you?
That's what I'm talking. No, I don't.
Okay. Well,
that's what I'm talking about.
Hold on. Let me address your point in a different way. So step 1 of your plan is already happening. Like, we are winning elections by fat fucking margins right now. And so we can look to the various candidates and see what they ran on and see what they found the most success with. I don't take that to mean too much. The fact that we're winning elections is relatively meaningless. Like, when you have, hang on, it's not just that we're winning elections. That's not it.
The incumbent's party is usually going to get smashed.
No, but hang on. It's not just
Yeah.
that we're winning elections. It's that the margins are unusually high. Like to suggest that what's happening right now is just normal kind of politics is not true. Like they are getting stomped by margins that look like the precursor to the 2010 Tea Party movement. And even last night, there were some astonishing shifts in, I don't remember what state it was in. I think it was in Georgia. There were some astonishing shifts, like 50-point shifts, 40-point shifts in this city or that city. Like that is not normal. And so and also the amount of Republicans that are retiring is really abnormal. Like it's abnormally high right now. So they can see like where this thing is headed. And so back to my point, the candidates that are having the most success right now are not running on like scorched earth, fire and fury. They are running on like government corruption is bad, but they're mostly
Do you think
getting.
that they could be running on I'm a vegetable and I'm here and I have a Democrat and they would do mostly okay as well?
No, I don't.
As long as it's any non-extremist position. In fact, the only Democrat I think that we've seen that hasn't had insane turnout, I could be wrong, are ultra progressive Democrats are the only ones that are not overperforming. Anyone who's just a centrist,
That's not true.
liberal,
I mean,
boring. Okay, well, give me some examples, I guess.
well, I don't have names off the top of my head, but like, you know, I don't know if you're thinking of like Mamdani versus Spanberger and Cheryl. Like they did better than he did, but there have been progressive. There was a progressive in Texas in the Texas Senate. There was a progressive candidate who was like a Bernie style progressive, and
was there another Democrat running also?
No. This was in the general, a special election against a Republican, and that seat shifted by like 32 points. This just happened like a month ago.
Well, that could have been 50 points maybe if it was not a super progressive, right? That I can't really base anything off of that, right?
Well, you're saying that we should talk about your hypotheticals more than we should be talking about the actual results.
Well, the actual results are that boring candidates are outperforming people who are extremists.
But they're winning because they're running on a very disciplined messaging campaign focused on affordability. And so I think I think if there was an appetite for the kind of fire and fury that you're suggesting, they would have discovered that in the focus groups that they do when they decide what kind of platform to run on and what kind of messaging to use. But that's not what they're saying.
I think there's a fundamental imbalance of what's best for the country and what is best for the candidate and what is best for the candidate's backers, and those things are not aligned. So
that might be true. I mean, but you should still like I understand your point, but like nonetheless, you should run campaigns on what's going to juice turnout the most, not necessarily on like the morally correct thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think winning is the most important thing. I just don't think that I don't think progressive politics are somehow this huge thing that's like, oh wow, look, this is crazy how much the shift is. I think like any shift is expected with this, and we've seen but pretty boring candidates have had big shifts, right?
But hang on, but you keep ignoring like the margins are unusual. Like Republicans are getting slaughtered by really unusual amounts. And it's a combination of disgust with the Trump administration and the Democrats having really strong candidates right now that are running on good messaging. And so, you know, step one is already happening. It's already happening. It's going to happen even more in the midterms. We're going to fucking stomp them out. I think we're going to take back the Senate as well. It's going to be fucking nuts. And so maybe when we get beyond that, Trump does 10 more like really fucked up things, and then that creates an appetite for the kind of messaging that you seem to be suggesting, which is like lock them up and just do whatever we can to like throw them all in prison. But right now, that is not what the voters are responding to the most. And it feels like a very online take. It feels like you're projecting your kind of rage and your disgust at the injustice on the general electorate, but these are people that, you know, a lot of them are just not.
No, I mean, we're confusing two things. Like, I'm not saying that politicians have to do anything. I'm saying that state people who are not running for Senate, who are not running for Congress, just the district attorney of Minnesota,
they can do that,
or whatever.
They can do that,
and they should, they're not, and that's a problem.
Well, I don't know. Are you familiar? I don't know. Maybe that's happening. Do you know that that's not happening?
Yes.
But the state level district attorneys and attorneys general are not running on like accountability for crimes done by people in government. I'll bet you anything they're running on that, but I don't know. I don't really pay attention to those races, and the kind of campaigns that they run.
That's not a race. That's not a campaign. That's just regular people should be prosecuting illegal acts by the Trump regime right now, and they're not. That's it. That's what's happening. I'm not talking about how people should be running their campaigns or even the messaging like, oh, we need to have Nuremberg 2.0. I'm saying that the day-to-day state employees should be doing their fucking job instead of not doing their job, which is the current case. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem that we're not seeing significant pushback that makes people think twice before they get really frisky. Because I will say that we're at a place coming up with the midterms, and I know you're very excited about it, but the whole Stalin thing is very serious. Those who vote decide nothing. Those who count the votes decide everything. That is very, 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 very much what is going to be the case, and there will be more shenanigans besides what we've seen. Like, Trump is a moron, and I will give you that. But the people that are pushing his illegal, sneaky shit are not morons. They're ultra Roger Stone sneaky fuckers like Stephen Miller. They are thinking about how can they do this? How can they do this in the most effective way? And I'm telling you right now, the way is not going to be something you're going to predict. It's going to be a week before voting happens. Trump does a bunch of EOs, and then people are rushing to try and go and challenge it in the courts. But oh shit, as a result of the courts, it has to start here at the lower one first before the Supreme Court does it. And by the time it's actually been challenged, this illegal shit that Trump has done to sway the election so that he wins, by the time that's happened, okay, it's too late. It's over. The elections are done. They've been counted. It's for Trump, and we're in the sunken cost fallacy at this point. And that's an issue. And I'll say the issue, and it really matters because we had Bush instead of Gore. So doing this shit and doing it sneakily matters, and it wins if you do it at the last minute. It's an absolute thing to be considering here. And you're like, oh, well, they probably won't do that. They absolutely will do this. Because if they don't, their life is on the line. Like their freedom.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to address that. I feel like in these conversations a lot, it kind of goes to, well, what if the worst case scenario happens? And it's like, well, if that happens, then we will, I assume there will be a massive, massive, massive movement in this country that would respond to that. But with Gore versus Bush? Well, I mean, that was a particular case, but I don't know. For this,
who was the president though for that term? Who ended up being president?
Well, that was. Listen, I'm old enough to remember that election, but what do you want me to say? If that happens,
what I want you to say is that very small fingers on the scale.
But you just said a minute ago. You just said a minute ago that our hands are kind of largely tied right now. And as far as the idea that state level prosecutors can indict current presidents and current cabinet members, that's never really been tested, and that seems unlikely to succeed.
Trump does stuff all the time that's never been tested. Okay,
and a lot of it
does that all the time.
Yeah, but a lot of it gets thrown out of court. A lot of it gets blocked, right?
Sure. I think Democrats should be more careful, but they should start trying some untested stuff.
Well,
if they think that it has legal footing.
So are you saying that Tim Walz should announce that Minnesota is indicting Trump and Noam and what
the ICE officers that are going to be charged for murder, state murder?
Well, they have. Well, hang on. There is a process obstacle when it comes to that, because my understanding, because I listened to Keith Ellison talk about what are the things that are on the table, and what he said is that the statute of limitations is not going to run out by the time Trump is out of office. Those people will be subject to criminal prosecution if they do their own investigation and.
I don't want to do it later.
Well,
hang on,
you didn't let me finish. But if the state level prosecutors decided to press charges right now against the ICE agents who shot those people, then the administration, they do have the authority to take that to a federal judge and say, we think that this should be taking place in a federal court, and they would have the right to just usurp that investigation. That was my understanding. Straight from Keith Ellison is the attorney general in Minnesota. That is what he said. So he said, even if they brought charges now, the feds have a process by which they can just usurp that and just take it out of their jurisdiction.
Well, it sounds like they need to go to the rule books and look for shenanigans where
No, but
that can't be the case.
well, hang on. Let me get some water real quick. Can you give me just a second? I feel like I'm running into the same situation that I ran into with Destiny, where I would ask him for details. Okay, like, what is your plan? What does it look like? And then
Sure.
when I would push back and say, well, there's some obvious like obstacles to what you're saying, he would push back to me and say, well, the how doesn't really matter. Like, once we decide that we want to do it, we can just figure out a way to do it. And I'm saying that in this girthy American democracy with a constitution and a set of laws, that's actually not always the case. Like, sometimes you actually don't have the option to do the thing that you want to do. And if you want to change that in the future, you have to like pass laws and do reforms. But under the current structure, you just can't do it. And this is one of those things where, like, again, the state attorney general in Minnesota just straight up said, we do not have the option basically to charge these ICE officers with murder because the feds can just come in and take it over. Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. So that's incorrect, right? They can charge. They can charge anyone for anything. Will it survive that thing? That's untested and unknown.
It's not, but it's not untested. It's not untested.
Sure. Well, there's a unique situations with this, right? As there is with any case. Everything is untested.
Wait, Dan. I just said,
yeah.
If Attorney General Ellison announced that they were going to do charges,
he shouldn't have said that.
The administration can go straight to a federal court and say, we want that. We think that should be in this jurisdiction, and the court would defer to them and give them the case, and then they would just drop the charges.
You know what? They would say this this is them trying to protect a murder, and this is an extraordinary case, and we think that when we can say that the federal government is acting as a co-participant in an illegal act, which we can prove by the fact that this illegal racial segregation and discrimination was taking place to find people, we find that the federal agencies themselves are almost a co-defendant as well as the agents who committed the crime, and as such, to relinquish control to them in this extraordinary circumstance would be inappropriate. I don't fucking know, but the whole point is that there are compelling arguments to be made, and these pussies aren't even trying.
What do you
that's
mean?
the issue that I have.
But why do you say there are compelling arguments? What do you mean?
Because that's a compelling argument right there.
But it doesn't matter if the federal government.
I agree. Yeah.
No.
Doesn't.
Dan, you're treating it as though this is like something that maybe we can do it. We just have to test it. But that's not true. The federal.
It is true.
It's not. In this case,
it's true by the fact that Trump
is
literally taking people out of countries.
That is a different thing, Dan. Dan, I hate
it's a different thing.
But I hate this argument that, like, just because Donald Trump can do some things unilaterally, this means
he can't though.
This means that we can do everything.
He's not supposed to be able to.
What? You got to stop cutting me off. Like, you keep saying, like, the logic that because Donald Trump can do a lot of things unilaterally. And it takes like a long process to like challenge him a lot of the times. When you say that and then say, well, this means we can do whatever we want. That's not true, though. It's just not true. You are going to have to contend with the system, the girthy system of American laws and the Constitution. And it's in this particular case, it is just true that the executive branch can usurp those investigations and just close those, like drop those charges. They can just do that.
So I disagree with what you're saying. I think that this type of, first off, the act of doing this is something that dissuades people, which is good. So they're not even trying right now because they're like, it's not, I've seen this before. And, when an FBI agent kills someone, they kind of take it away. So fuck it. But they're not even trying. And the thing is, trying, one, sends a message that illegal shit, maybe they got lucky this time. They didn't get lucky this other time when it happened here. When that state court did it for these guys, they found, oh, shit, they could keep going as a result. Like, this scares people. Have you ever been sued before? By any chance?
No.
Okay. The act of being sued, the act of being named, these things by themselves, success or not, are massive dissuasion.
You can
from
sue
doing
the federal government.
Acts.
You can sue the executive branch.
I'm not talking about that. You're not listening to me. What I'm saying is that the people that killed Freddie should have their names out there, and these people in state should be doing their damnedest to bring them to justice, even though they may not win, even though it's a crazy task to try and overcome the idea that this might be handed over to the federal courts. Despite all that, they should throw everything at the wall. They should appeal every ruling. They should do everything legally within their power to hold what they view as unfair, discriminatory, illegal acts to these people specifically, not just because they want to get justice for the people that were murdered, but secondly, because when other ICE agents see the absolute hell that these people are going through, the fact that they might lose, the fact that they might go to jail, is enough that the success doesn't matter. It is the act and the throwing everything at the wall, legally speaking. Okay, I do not think that we should be doing things that are we're not going to be planting evidence, that type of shit. But there's enough here that I think that we should be doing everything because the act in itself is good, and the act in itself dissuades more illegal discriminatory actions from happening. Because right now, if you're an ICE agent, you feel like a fucking god and no one can do anything, and fuck you, Trump is going to protect me. But if we saw that Tim Walz was going out there and he was doing everything he could, and by the way, states are still pretty fucking powerful, there's still a lot of ability for states to do a lot of shit that the federal government doesn't get to touch, that would scare people that are thinking about continuing to do crazy illegal shit. And I think we need to see more of that, and we don't. And instead what we get is what you're showing, which is the state AG being like, well, we can't charge them because the federal government could just say that they could just take the case. But technically, sure, they could do that, but then you could appeal that. And then they would appeal that, and then you could appeal that. And the whole time, these ICE agents are going to be like, am I about to go to jail for the rest of my life? What the fuck is happening here? And there's going to be people getting subpoenaed and asking for evidence and the whole thing. And this is good.
So again, you talked about suing the administration. You can do that right now. In fact,
not suing. Sorry, any word I use suing there should be criminally charged.
You
not
said,
suing.
You did
yeah,
say
that's
lawsuits.
Nothing.
Okay, but you did say that.
Sure, lawsuits on top of that as well. Right. Lawsuits and criminal parts as well.
Okay,
so
but
yeah,
that's what you said.
Yeah.
I was responding to that. So
that's my misspeak there, but I do think lawsuits should be a part of it as well. So you should have Preddy suing the families directly, as well as the state.
The family suing him, you mean?
Yeah, the family should be suing the agents. The family should be suing Kristi Noem. You should have the state should be suing the agents for damage to tourism. I don't know, 101 things along those lines. These are all super helpful things to have happen, regardless of the outcome. And they should appeal every negative thing that happens along the way. They should drag it out as long as possible. All of these things are positive.
So as far as like legal obstacles to the administration, I see democratically aligned lawyers and advocacy groups and democratic states like suing the administration and fighting them in that kind of way through litigation all over the country. What do you mean?
You know what? This kind of harkens back to something that I think was super.
You just keep cutting me off like as soon as I keep talking.
Sorry. But in people, not administration. I'm not saying to sue the administration. I'm saying suing people, individual people. Sorry.
Yeah, but you don't acknowledge that there are like potentially enormous obstacles to what you're saying. Not obstacles, but just straight up just like walls that you cannot get through. Like the idea like, oh, we should just try it anyways. Nobody would care if Minnesota announced tomorrow that they're going to file criminal charges against the two officers. The Trump administration would immediately go to a federal judge. They would get that thrown out immediately, and no one would care. Like this would barely make a blip on Twitter for 2 hours, and people would be on to the next thing. So I don't see the value in these like symbolic process fights that you keep proposing. I don't understand the point of them. I think we should be using our resources in much more efficient ways instead of trying to chase down legal avenues that are just not open. Like Minnesota does not have the option to criminally charge these officers. They just don't. And you're saying, we'll just do it anyways. And I get really frustrated with that kind of thinking. Like you should not waste your time doing things that you can't get done unless there's a really good, unless you were 100% confident that the optics of it would really benefit you politically. Then sometimes doing symbolic things can have value. But in this case, no one would care. No one would talk about this. It would barely make the news. It would just be on to the next thing. It would be killed. The effort would be killed literally probably like within a day or two. They would go to a court immediately and get it thrown out.
I think you're delusional. I think you're wrong, legally speaking. I think you're wrong, technically speaking. And I think that you're wrong on the perception of what would happen as a result of this. I think the people that brought these cases would be fucking heroes. I think it would be slow for them to try and stop it because there's novel arguments in here about how the federal government is directly enabling the illegal behavior, so it shouldn't be transferred. I think there's a tremendous amount of ambiguity here on the situation that it wouldn't just be handed over the next day. And I think that when you do this, I'll tell you two people that will care a lot about this when the second this happens, regardless of what may happen in the outcome. The two officers that killed the guy, okay? They're going to care a lot. Their heart rate is going to be 150 for the next 2 weeks. They're not going to sleep. And do you know who else is not going to sleep? Other people that are seeing what's happening to them as a result of this. This would not move quick. It would move slow. And it would be a major positive for immigrants across the country. Just flat out. Nothing happens in a day, by the way, regardless of what's happening here. They can't even get, like, I'm sure you saw the whole thing with federal judges telling the federal government, hey, you can't send people off to fucking El Salvador. Even that wasn't happening in days. Those were weeks. And that was day one. They were like, this is illegal. What are you doing? And that was weeks. So this idea that tomorrow it'll be instantly flipped and they'll come will not be the case. You can make this take a long time. And importantly, the federal government is not in control of the state courts. The state courts are in charge of what happens there.
So again, they can take it to a federal judge, and then the judge can take it away from the states at that point. But this
can
is
the
already.
State appeal?
I mean, sure, I would imagine, but like this is already. They're already.
Does that take time?
Like the AG Keith Ellison, they are doing an investigation into these shootings. They're running into a problem because the federal government is not cooperating with state level like investigators. And so the idea that they're not building a case right now is just not correct. But you would agree you wouldn't want to bring a case before you felt confident that you would be able to like secure a victory in the court or, you know, secure a guilty verdict from a jury, right?
No, I disagree. No, I disagree.
Okay.
Because I think that the act of attempting to hold these people accountable is almost as important as the result of what happens. The fact that you are even going out there and publicly saying, we're going to do everything to hold these fuckers accountable. They killed one of our citizens and we're charging them. And we have the approval from the grand jury and we're going forward. The fact that they're doing that, I said, will greatly slow down future discrimination. And that is the greater good over the results of a single case. The results of them successfully charging these people is meaningless at all, right? It is completely meaningless of what happens with these officers. Like it would be good if they were charged, but what happens to them isn't as important as what the administration continues to do with discrimination. So, you know, I look at cases like, you know, the LA riots that happened after
Rodney King.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The act of simply, you know, they weren't even sure, like, are we going to win this case or not? Or because I think it was just like a video footage and the before wasn't known. And it's like usually in these cases, it wouldn't happen. I think the act of bringing the case is sometimes more important than winning the case, trying and showing people.
If you bring charges before you're confident that the process plays out in a way that would secure a guilty verdict, then you can't. There's double jeopardy issues, right? So like, I don't know. I think that's a pretty weak.
We don't care about them going to jail. We care about stopping the harm of thousands of other people who are getting sent to fucking El Salvador and shit. Like that's the whole point here, right? What I mean, what do you think is a bigger deal? Are you not a lever puller on the track to save the 100 kids by killing one?
I mean, sure, yeah. I will never shy away from a trolley problem, but I also think that you need to be like efficient and practical, and I don't generally think that there's a lot of value. Like there are outlier cases where this isn't the case, but like I generally think that these symbolic kinds of things just probably wouldn't do much. But all of this, by the way, everything that you're describing is within the boundaries of the Constitution and the law. So I'm not even sure that I want to even fight you that much on this, Dan. Like I don't have an issue. If there was a state level, I mean, I could hear your arguments and maybe be persuaded that the Democrats at the state level and local level could be doing more to fight the administration. I'm sure they could be. I'm not, I'm sure that there's more that they could do. But everything you're saying, like, doesn't require us pursuing any kind of like extra legal means to go after the administration.
Well, what I guess the issue is that you think like, oh, well, it's not normal. It's not the norm. And I'm saying anything that's not the norm is now on the table. Like Democrats need to be way more Stephen Miller like, way more Roger Stone like to make sure that this country does not become insane. And that means things that normally have not been done but are technically legal to do that make sure that the country does not become a monarchy, those levers should be pulled. So it is not normal. Well, it is not normal that in a case where a federal agent kills someone that the state would get involved. Usually they would lead the feds to do that. But this is a technical, maybe there's a technical ability that we should do that now. Or if, packing the courts, if we get to that situation, or any other number of things that normally we wouldn't do. Normally you wouldn't get rid of the filibuster. Normally you wouldn't do all this stuff. I think a lot of this type of stuff you need to re-examine.
I don't disagree, Dan.
What's just here on tradition?
I don't disagree on these, Dan. Like everything that you just laid out here, these are all things that we can do within the boundaries of the system. I do think that we should get rid of the filibuster. I do think we should pass not insignificant reforms. I do think that we should pursue novel strategies and get creative. I don't have an issue with any of that. That's not at all what I've been pushing back against.
It sounded like you were discouraged of the idea, like we might not be able to get a conviction against Preddy's killers. So I don't, and I think the federal.
Well, I would rather I would rather get like justice. I mean, I would rather.
Actually a good question. What would you rather have? Here's a trolley problem for you.
Okay.
Good question.
All right.
Trolley. Lever 1. The killers of Preddy are charged in 3 years and go to jail for the rest of their life. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't start for 3 years. Lever 2, they are charged today, and it's a huge show, and people are tuning into it. Lots of evidence is coming out, lots of discovery. Trump is doing everything he can to bring it back into federal court, but there's being this one annoying state court that refuses to do it, and it's this whole thing, and they keep tacking on charges, and the federal government's not sure how to do it.
I would take a second one.
Wait. But the important part, but in the end, the two guys get away with no charges.
No, I would take
after
the first.
3 years.
No, I would take the first.
Well, that's just delusional then.
I would say you would rather. I mean, I just don't understand the value in the way that you seem to be appraising. Like, I don't think that the current administration are going to be like any meaningful amount less emboldened than they already are right now if you try to jam them up with like court proceedings. I mean, there's Donald Trump. It's not
about the administration.
Well,
it's about the people that work for the machine.
Well, I would rather get justice for those crimes, because like I don't think you're going to see a situation where ICE officers resign en masse because
no, you don't need to, but maybe they won't do crazy illegal shit. Like maybe that is the thing that's happening here right now.
Well,
there's no fear. There's nothing for them. They are gods.
Well,
and I think that if they start seeing that there's like 8 cases in 8 different states, and these their names are forever immortalized with killing someone. Like right now, we don't even know their names. Hutch.
I agree. I agree with the spirit of the things that you're proposing, and if you propose things that to me are like practical, plausible, and you could demonstrate a very real value, then I would support doing those things. But again, this is not the argument that I've been having with like DGG and the argument that I had with Destiny. Like these are all processes that can take place within the boundaries of the law and the Constitution, which is fine. I'm not opposed to the spirit of what you're trying to do. Like I might fight you on some of the suggestions because, well, I just don't think that that's going to work, and I don't think it has any chance of making any kind of a dent. I don't think anyone's going to pay attention to it. Nobody's going to care. Like it's going to get buried in a mountain of new news that comes out every day, and just really not going to produce the desired outcome that you're going for.
But what about like the Rittenhouse thing? Like that was a huge show. That was a huge, constant, everyday thing. Was it not? In the end, they lost.
Sure.
Do you think they shouldn't have taken that case?
Not really. No, I don't know what they accomplished by that. The Rittenhouse case. What did they get for that?
Well, it was a lot of press at the time. A lot of the other side.
A lot of embarrassing press. A lot of
Um,
embarrassing press. I mean, they were asking him if he played fucking Call of Duty. I mean, I feel like that case was pretty embarrassing for the
they should
prosecution.
definitely learn um, to not do it like that, is what I would say.
Mhm.
But in the end, that was an example of like something being brought that maybe shouldn't have been brought. But we're talking about bringing something that isn't being brought.
Kind of
So
made him a
it's
martyr, though.
different.
I mean, I feel like they
It's different. Yeah, and
um,
that thing sucks. That sucks in that case. Like that shouldn't have been done. But I think that the idea that you're going to make someone a martyr that killed Preddy is highly unlikely.
oh, I didn't say that. I said in the case of Rittenhouse, they made him a martyr. They launched his fucking social media career. That guy's probably never gonna have to work a day again for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
And
yeah,
you know, and
agree.
conservatives use that whole thing to like mock the left. So I don't really know what they got for that. I don't know if they dissuaded anybody from, you know, popping off in Minnesota at the time, you know.
No. I'm just saying that, like, I get, like, it's a bad example because they didn't get anything result from it, but like that was probably a case that most likely should not have been brought in the first place, but was anyways. Right? Like, prosecutors bring cases that they can't necessarily win if they think that you know, they're on some fucking righteous course or whatever.
There might be a lot of political pressure for them to do it. So, you know,
exactly.
they'll lose they'll lose re-election if they don't do it. So it's like I take your point that sometimes prosecutors have like, they're in a bit of a bind.
Even if they're gonna lose, right? Like, you know, like I could charge you right now for attempted murder because you said something so stupid the other day that I lost brain cells. I'm gonna lose the case. But like technically, you know, if I got like a really MAGA judge, could I get there and make you actually have to show to court and like, you know, defend yourself and before it got tossed out? Yeah, sure. Right. But like you can bring cases. I think the issue is like, it seems like you didn't want this case to be brought. But if you're okay with it being brought, then we're in agreement. I think like this should be a show trial for these two people and their boss.
You're not going to get that show trial though. That's my point. You're not going to get it.
I think you could try. I think you can try, and if it gets tossed, I think you do the appeal. I think then you have the state going in, you're doing it civilly. I think that you find an additional charge to go against them, like, oh, we lost the murder charge. Let's go with trespassing, right? And something additional, or essentially along those lines.
Call the office of AG Ellison, and you know, talk to them and voice your, you know, that's up to the people of like Minnesota if they want to.
This is on a grand scheme. It's not just Minnesota. It's like it's the entire country that needs to be making people that are doing crazy illegal shit fear that this is not forever. Even to a certain extent, a little bit of politicians, congressmen, senators who are enabling illegal behavior should think like this might not end well for me, right? Like Kristi Noem should be thinking like, I might be fucked. Like a state might literally like come after me, and Trump isn't my daddy anymore. And I think that's something.
She feels. Honestly, I'm sure she feels pretty vulnerable right now. I mean, I don't know if he's given her private assurances that he's going to pardon her on his way out the door, or you know, maybe the next Congress is sworn in and the Democrats announce their own kind of Here's what I think is going to happen. I think the Democrats are going to take over the House. I think we're going to win back the Senate. I don't give a fuck. I think they are going to conduct investigations. I think they are going to make criminal referrals to DOJ, and then DOJ is not going to act on them. But we're going to go through that process, and we're going to have these like public show trials. If I wanted to use your language, you know, all of this shit's going to be televised, but probably similar to last time, Dan. Not a lot of people are going to be paying attention to these congressional hearings. Okay, like you know, they can do all this stuff, and I do think they should do all this stuff, but you can't force Americans to start paying attention in the way that you think that, you know, I hear this a lot. Like people are frustrated that you can, that you can't like wake up the public and get them to be more engaged. And it's not easy to do that. There's just a lot of, I mean, America, we have it really fucking good in this country. We're wealthier than most of the world. And even people that make middle and low income here are better off than fucking 90% of the countries out there. And it's just when people are kind of doing like okay to fine to good, it's difficult to get people to pay attention in the way that you want them to. And so in the meantime, you should stick to what works and win elections and use power when you have power. And, you know, I think we are going to see a Democratic Party that's more aggressive. when we win.
I don't think you can have it both ways. We can't say that, wow, that Rittenhouse shit was fucking crazy and made him a celebrity, and that in this year when we've had some of the biggest protests of all time, people obviously care.
Well, what was different? What was different back then? You know, it was in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody was at home staring at their phones fucking 10 hours a day.
I'm saying right now we are having the biggest protests of all time.
True.
Right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're saying that no one's going to give a shit about a trial of the people that killed Preddy, that's delusional. Take from you. It would be absolutely sensational, huge news with everyone on both sides pulling both directions. Like to say that wouldn't be the case and it would get buried in news is just absolute. I hate to say
it wouldn't
a little
even.
Bit of cope.
It wouldn't even make it to trial, Dan. That's my point. You're not gonna get this trial. Do you? I like. Why should I trust your opinion more than Ellison? Like, do you think he's lying about this?
I think that he has political pressure to do things one way or the other. I think that he's
what's
probably
that based on? What's that based on? What are you basing that on? Do you think you know more about the process to like do this than he does?
I know the expression that get me some ham and I can charge a ham sandwich. I know that. I know that this thing takes time. I know that it doesn't take the next day to get dismissed. These are all facts. Like, court moves slow, justice moves slow. People are pressure points. The public seeing someone like OJ get off, seeing these guys get off in themselves could be an incitement to wake up more Dems of how crazy things are. The fact that Trump went so hard to bat for them, that they did everything they could to keep evidence from coming out, that they fought it every step of the way. It is the
So you think Ellison is just being a fucking pussy? You don't think Ellison has a lot of incentive to be seen as a fighter that's going after Trump? You don't think that he has a ton of incentive to do that?
I'll tell you something about lawyers. Lawyers kind of suck. They literally do. Lawyers kind of fucking suck. A lot of times they literally won't do anything unless they have this guaranteed because they're just obsessed. They're a very specific personality. I've known a lot of attorneys. I've dealt with a lot of attorneys, and they will not do anything unless it's been tried before. They hate doing new things. They hate going against precedent, but those are the people that set new precedent. So he's probably in the latter camp is what I would say. So when you're asking why is he this way, I don't care. He could be a fucking amazing attorney and everything else, but it could just be that, in this case, he's an amazing attorney because he's really good with what's happened in the past. Sometimes you need to do things that are new and set new precedent. And that happens, by the way. New precedents are set where beforehand things were one way and then a court case comes out and things are another way. You would certainly agree to that being the case, right?
Do you agree that Ellison has all the incentive to be seen as like aggressively fighting this administration? Do you agree that it would massively benefit his political career if he was seen as like one of the strongest fighters against the Trump administration?
I mean, I can see there being other sides that I don't know as to why he's doing it. So I see that personally. I think, so I would give your argument here is that most Dems don't want this. Right? We see that just the passive casual Dems, they don't want this fight. They just want, they want people to go out there and essentially, we want progressive candidates, but we don't want this Nuremberg 2.0 thing. That's something that you said earlier on. So that would be the reasoning.
I don't think the voters want this Nuremberg 2.0.
Well, this guy, the DA is an elected position, so maybe he's following your advice and he's like, man, voters don't want this Nuremberg 2.0 shit, so I guess I'll let it go.
If that's the case,
nothing I can do.
Well, if that's the case, then your problem is with the voters.
Well, my argument is with the moral good of doing this, not the re-election odds of a random district attorney in some place.
Well, listen, I mean, I just did a cursory search for Keith Ellison's track record, and he has a long career and a track record of being like very aggressive, very much an activist. I think he has all the incentive in the world, the political incentive in the world to take every action that he thought had any kind of like reasonable modicum of success or value. And if he's saying that the process for the state to try to pursue charges right now could, and just so we're clear, the executive branch, they do get broad deference from the court. So if the executive branch requests an expedited like hearing on this matter, if they wanted to usurp a state level investigation, they would get a hearing like relatively quickly. That shit would happen in like 1 or 2 weeks, maybe even a few days, bro. That's happened that's happened already during this administration, I believe.
So you're just saying that Trump can do whatever he wants, but no one else can? I mean,
you're doing the thing.
I would agree that
you're doing the thing again.
Okay, well, I would point to the.
He can't do whatever he wants, by the way. Trump cannot do whatever he wants. That's not true.
Okay, it does feel a little bit like that, but I would say that I would point again to the fact of how long it took for people to be brought back who are illegally exported to another country. Right? So it doesn't seem like the federal government can move that quick.
Is it supposed to surprise me that the president can do more things than a state level attorney general? Of course he can. Of course he can do more things.
Well, he can do more things federally. But the thing is that their power is with federal movements. States have their own things. The federal government, for the most part, if things are working as they are, the federal government really can't do too much there.
Okay, right? Again, I'm just telling you that this guy Ellison has every incentive in the world to fight Trump aggressively in the way that you're describing. He would benefit tremendously politically if he were to like play out your thing and get a show trial. And
you're saying he wouldn't before, right? Well, would he benefit or would he not benefit?
No. He would benefit in the sense of like rallying his base and rallying the people that support him and are looking like the Democratic Party. And so like if he can demonstrate that kind of value to like his base, and that does help him tremendously like politically. But as far as like the value nationally, I just don't think a lot of people would pay attention to this process. I don't think it would make it to the point that you're saying where there would be this show trial. And like, let me just ask you, is there anything that the Democratic Party in their fight against Trump currently, while we are out of power at the state level, at the federal level, is there anything that Democrats
We're not out of power at the state level.
Well, obviously, but I mean, like, is there anything that Democrats can't do? Or are you just taking the view that they can do anything really if they just get creative enough? Like, do you acknowledge that there are checks and balances in the system that constrain the party and what they can do? They can't literally just do anything, Dan.
They can do anything that is legal for them to do.
Right.
They can't do illegal. I don't want them to do illegal things, but
okay.
We see the federal government right now going fucking nuts trying to get their for instance, let's take the Fed, right? They want interest rates down, so they're going nuts, right? Yeah. They're like, "Oh, what about this thing with your mortgage?" Right? Like, this is okay. Why are you getting involved here? The thing is, that level of
but even then he got checked, Dan. Even then he got checked.
He did.
Yeah.
But that who got dissuaded here? The people that went against Trump were like, holy shit, this motherfucker, if you go against him, you got to be you have to literally be Powell to be a god like that, to go against him, because everyone else, like,
his power. He's abusing his power. Yes. Yeah.
No, that was illegal for him to do. I mean, should he be having his finger on the scale with the Justice Department? But going and investigating that mortgage and doing things along those lines, like, was that a crime? I don't know. I'm glad the courts were able to look in and find that that's not the case. Well, but that's a one-way process right now.
Sure,
that's a one-way process.
Well, I mean, I generally don't think that we should be, threatening people in the same kind of way. I don't even think we need to. No. I don't think we need to, though, Dan. Like, and you agreed with me earlier in the conversation. The reason why Donald Trump has to go for like fucking mortgage fraud against Letitia James and Comey and Powell is because they're not criminals. That's why. And so, like, with the Republicans and the current administration, they fucking are criminals. So, like, yes, you should go after them. Go after them for their crimes. Like, we don't need to make up like mortgage fraud.
I understand that, but they're not going after those crimes right now, is what I'm saying is the issue. And you're like, well, technically they might be a federal crime. Well, I mean, that's something that can certainly be argued, I think.
Are there limits? Are there limits to what the Democratic Party can do?
I'm not talking about the Democratic Party. I'm talking about the men and women that make up the individual justice system for states. I'm talking about the boots on the ground, the proletariat, not the specific politicians. I think scaring the politicians is good, but I think if the people are unwilling to carry out the orders of the politicians themselves, that also has a similar effect of bringing people more towards the center and more towards a non-extremist government.
That's already happening, by the way. That's already happening right now. Like
sure,
in the Congress.
We're not sending people to El Salvador right now, but we did
in the Congress. Right? In the Congress, though. So, like, this is they had. Wait, hold on. They had the votes to get the one big beautiful bill passed. That, you know, you can do like a couple reconciliation packages a year. They did one, and they've already given up on doing another reconciliation, but they're not even going to try to do another bill. And so there's already so much chaos and so much electoral blowback right now in the country that the Republican Party has become essentially dysfunctional. Like, they can't get anything done. You know, they don't have the votes to pass the SAVE Act. They don't have the votes to get rid of the filibuster. It's just, they're already basically like a lame duck party. And so because of these like electoral consequences, now there's so much dysfunction that they can't get anything done. And so like, that's going to get even better when Democrats win back the Congress after this November. And after we take I think we're going to win another trifecta in 2028. If the DOJ sees an avenue to charge them criminally in a way that, you know, evades possible immunity or pardons, they should do that 100,000%. Uh-oh. I think we lost Dan.
Listen, that was the most aggressive forced Windows update I've ever seen in my life. It was just like, we're going now. I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
I don't know where where I left off when you disconnected there, but like,
oh, don't put it. I disconnected. Okay, my computer.
When your computer fucked you, when Windows fucked you, Dan.
I wasn't. Well, no, it felt. My computer was like, oh god, this guy is rambling. Let me save you. This might as well update now. You won't miss anything. Is what it said.
Okay, well, let me just skip ahead for you. Okay, like Democrats should just fucking like make magic happen and just like fuck the rules. There are no limits. They can do whatever they want. Just get creative. That's all you got to do. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to do this and this and this. Like, well, no. I mean, we have a system, and sometimes the system pushes back and says no in really meaningful ways. And I don't agree with your.
So you want the system to push back?
Yes.
Okay. How does it push back if you don't even try to push in the first place?
I don't even take it. I mean, I'm not advocating for a policy of doing nothing. Like, do things in the system. Yes.
Good. I agree. Yeah. I think that we should try novel legal theories, which may be shut down. But I just know that right now, we don't know who Preddy's killers are. Looks like they're just going to get off.
I think we do know those. I think we do know those names, by the way. Somebody typed their names in my chat like a few hours ago. Raimundo Gutierrez and Jesus Ochoa.
Those are the two that did it.
Oh, those were the two that were involved in the Alex Preddy shooting. And then Jonathan Ross is the officer who shot Renee Good.
The guy who does the roasts?
No, I doubt it. The Comedy Central guy? I don't think he became an ICE officer. I could be wrong.
I mean, I don't know if he actually has any other things besides doing the roast, so that could be the case. Okay, I didn't. This is news to me that their killers have been released. Names released.
Yeah, Brian Krasenstein was fucking tweeting out their names and shit pretty shortly after the shootings.
Let's see. So when did this happen? So it wasn't the government that identified them. It was ProPublica?
I think the government has to release that information. I think they did. I could be wrong.
Yeah, so now that you have these guys' names, which is fantastic.
Careful. No TOS stuff.
What? No. I'm saying they need to be civilly charged, and they need to be criminally charged, and they need to absolutely be showboated as much as possible, and all that jazz. That needs to happen.
But again, it looks like there
very
are
strongly on that.
Okay, but it looks like there are already processes going on right now. You're just suggesting that it needs to happen right now, but sometimes, especially in a fucking murder case, and especially if you're being stonewalled by the federal government and who the FBI are just refusing to hand over like evidence to you, that is gonna impact your ability to like bring charges. Like, what if they don't even have enough evidence right now to get it past a grand jury? You know what I mean? Like, I think you're assuming fecklessness, and you're not even entertaining the possibility that there are like actual very real process hurdles and obstacles that could complicate the matter. You're just like, you're doing the thing where it's just like, we'll just do the thing, you know? Like, it reminds me of lefties when they were pissed at Biden for giving up on a $15 an hour minimum wage. Like, there are people like Kyle Kulinski who wanted Biden to, you know, fight that out for like months, you know what I mean? And but the reality is that there are limits to power, Dan. There are limits to what you can do.
I agree with that, but even in those cases, and I don't agree with those positions, but there is something to be said for continued persistent pressure on a topic, and if that's something that you care about. The issue I have with, far lefties and things along those lines is that they are in it only to fight and not for any actual material good. And I think that it's a material good to have a public force of fear that if you do insane shit for the Trump administration, that you might lose it all. That it's
but
not
I agree,
worth,
though.
it's
I
not worth
agree.
$100K a year that you get as an ICE agent to, potentially be in jail, or that it might not be worth it to be special envoy to Ukraine if it turns out that you're going to lose every penny that you have and be in jail for the rest
Listen,
of your life.
I agree. I mean, would you accept, though? Would you accept if, Newsom is inaugurated in January 2029? He nominates Jack Smith to be AG. Jack Smith is confirmed, and then like some months into the administration, or some amount of time, they come out and they say they come out and they say, listen.
Democrats.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, would you accept that AG Jack Smith in that spot might not be in a position to bring charges against the previous administration?
I don't know the legal mechanics of charging.
Well, it's like the pardon and immunity, right? Like, those are pretty big.
Well, that's
obstacles,
why states are so important versus
I agree.
Versus federal charges on this type of thing. But the reason I think this whole thing came up in the first place is that I am concerned of the midterms, and you seem to just be.
We're gonna stomp them out.
Okay,
they're not gonna steal it. They're not gonna steal it. He might try some shenanigans. It's not gonna work. They're gonna get stomped out.
I don't know how you can say this so confidently
when it's
the
money?
guy who's starting wars with Iran and stealing people's presidents.
You want to bet money?
Sure. I have more than you though.
Yeah, you do.
But
a lot. I'll bet you $50.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, what is the bet here, to be clear though?
Well, I want odds because you're super confident. I want 10-1 odds.
You're also super confident.
That's true. Like I said, cancels out.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not so confident. You've convinced me.
Yeah,
I need odds to take the bet.
I'm convinced. You know what? You've really swayed me on this.
Listen, I mean, like, I just think, like, American election system, I take your point about the process, but, just to put...
I'll put it this way. Here's a bet I'll make for you. I will bet that if the election midterms result in a Democratic win, that it will be, if it gets to that point, I don't even think it can get to that point, honestly. I was going to say that would be charged. The DOJ would say that they're fake and can't be counted. And, as a result of that, that, and the other thing, like legal cases will go.
I would never...
Do you know how it goes with this? It's not, it's like when you're negotiating with someone. When you're negotiating with someone to purchase something, you're anchoring reality, okay? The first person to say a price, all future negotiation is based off of that price. The ability to say Trump won, or not Trump won, but like the Republicans won in these 10 states, and Democrats would be like, no, look, they did this. They didn't actually win because you're not counting votes from women. You're not counting votes from women who had their last name changed. Do you understand that by the time that we might get to the point where we're looking into it and it's there and it's like, well, the Supreme Court remanded it back down to the lower court because technically the state court should be the one that looks into it.
I understand all that.
They didn't but by the time that it gets through all this, it's too late. And the public has moved on.
So straight
the frog
up
boiled slowly.
So just straight up, full stop. The Constitution is very, very clear that the executive branch do not have the authority to, quote unquote, like, take over election systems. If he were to do something like that, the states would just literally ignore him. If he were to send DOJ in to, like, seize voting machines, then I agree with you. We are off to the races, and I'll probably be on board with a lot of the stuff that you want to do.
Have we already seen, just real quick, I'm curious, have we already seen the DOJ go and seize some voting machines recently?
Yeah, but that's not the same thing as them hang on, they didn't take existing voting machines. They took voting machines related to 2020, and they got a warrant from a judge to do that. And so, like, they're going to pour through that. And chances are, I don't think they're going to find, like, I guess they're looking for some kind of, like, foreign influence. It was probably like Donald Trump who called up, like Kash Patel and fucking Tulsi Gabbard, but we've seen him try this 1,000 times. He told fucking Pam Bondi to charge Barack Obama, and like,
I
you know, and like,
this.
you still have to go through the courts to do this kind of thing. And so there is no mechanism for him to take over these systems. I'm not saying he's not going to try.
I don't think there's supposed to be a mechanism for the federal government to even come and look at the state's voting machines, period.
There is. He got a judge to sign off on a warrant. Like there just is.
That's a unreasonable task that in a red state that a judge would sign off on that. Do you know who Judge Eileen Cannon is?
Well, where do you want to go with this conversation? If you're gonna hit me with like, well, what if worst case scenario happens? Then I'm with you. Let's like take to the street.
I'm saying that is
down.
The worst case scenario. That is the expected case scenario of what will happen. That there will be a plan to do this.
Well, I mean, why aren't they already?
Trump is going to play nice.
Why aren't they already like stopping elections from happening? Yeah,
I'm glad that you're asking that, because all that matters is the midterms. And if they move quick and they move fast and they do it all at once, they can anchor reality for the general public that Republicans won. And then it becomes a bunch of sore loser Democrats that now act like they seem like, they're just doing the same thing that the Republicans did, whining that the election was stolen.
Donald Trump tried this. Donald Trump tried this in 2020. He took his case to like 60 different courts. They all laughed him out of court, you know? So
yeah,
you know,
and people are going to think it's anchoring. That's the whole thing. They need the public behind them. And also that would be unprecedented to say all of these elections.
Do you think the public's going to get behind him?
Them.
Do you think the public's going to get behind him?
It doesn't matter. He has the DOJ. Like literally, it's his DOJ.
He had DOJ in 2020.
Not like he has now.
Well, I mean, I take your point. I mean, Bondi will be more, I think, compliant than Trump, but they're gonna be like.
That's the way of putting it.
They're gonna be challenged in the courts if they tried to do this, and they're not gonna.
They might be challenged in the blue districts or in the blue.
No,
states.
they'll be challenged all over the fucking country. They'll be challenged in every single. Yes, of course. They were challenged in red. They were challenged in red states in 2020. You don't have to be. You know, anybody can sue. Anybody can sue from the state of Arizona.
Let me ask you a hypothetical here, okay? Let's say, hypothetically, that the last election was stolen. Trump, which state could he have won? Was it Georgia or Pennsylvania?
He would have had to have won a few different states.
Is there one that he could have won?
No.
Say California.
He would have had.
Yeah,
if California, maybe. I don't know.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure. All right. Hypothetically, okay? They're hypothetical, so it doesn't matter. Let's say that 10 months in to Joe Biden's term, he finally gets through all the court progress, and you know what? He actually did win California. What do you think is going to happen?
I have no idea. I mean, that would be like a straight up very novel constitutional crisis.
Is there any historical things that you can look to, like Bush v. Gore, on what happens?
Well, you wouldn't redo the election, right?
You wouldn't redo the election.
Yeah. Okay. What are you saying here?
I'm saying that he just has to anchor it enough for the win. He doesn't have to survive the legal claim in the end. He already denies reality for everything that he says.
No, it was the courts that were the final arbiter of 2000. He would have to go through the courts if he wants to do these kinds of challenges, and the courts are not going to back him on this. Not even the red judges. Nobody backed him on this. Like he took his case to like 60 different fucking courts, man. He got laughed out at every fucking court.
Do you feel like Eileen Cannon, who was a judge, do you think that she acted fairly and reasonably with the handling of Trump's case?
No, of course not. But like she would have been subject to the same kind of like appeals that any other judge would be. And so, you know, she tossed out that court case, and she used Clarence Thomas's like comments about special counsels being illegal. I mean, if Donald Trump hadn't won, then that would have been challenged, and she would have lost that challenge. They would have gone to a higher court and tried the case there. Or they would have found a different judge. Yeah.
I think we're at a position where we have witnessed, and we are witnessing, Trump completely having no respect at all for the law on every front. The annulments clause, he's making tons of money. Crypto coins, just going wild, scamming people, selling Trump watches. These are things that are just not allowed.
I understand that, but even he's limited. Dan, even he's limited.
How is he limited on that one?
Not on that one. I don't know about that. I bet like meme coin stuff. Okay. But like, for example, he cannot just like snap his fingers and make the SAVE Act happen. He has to go through Congress, and they're saying no. You know, and the courts have told him, have stopped a number of his policies. Like, it's already happened like several times during this presidency, and he's complied with the Supreme Court rulings. And so, this idea that like, well, he can just literally do whatever he wants, therefore he's going to steal the midterms. Like, I'm not going to tell you he's not going to try some fuckery. I think he's a fucking corrupt piece of shit. I think he will.
This is what I want you to. This is like the whole point of what I'm saying here is, it doesn't. You're too focused. Like earlier when I asked you on the lever, what would you rather have? The 2 cops being found guilty or the 3-year immediate effect of that happening? I don't care if we eventually win the midterms, because after 2 years of litigating it, I care if we actually get in power after the midterms. And
you're not gonna dissuade Donald Trump from being corrupt, bro. There's nothing you can do. Yeah,
correct. But who can you dissuade?
I don't even think you can dissuade his underlings.
Well, I think we would have to start trying to see if we can.
Well, we have this thing called the supremacy clause, which makes it really difficult and complicated for the state level prosecutors to target this administration and people that staff the agencies. It just is what it is.
We have other legal things saying we're not allowed to go fucking yoink presidents from other countries, but we found a way around it.
Dan, you keep doing the thing. You doing the president has so much more power than state level officials. He can't.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
the president is like a governor of the country.
No. He has way more power than the governors at the state level. So he does get to just do a lot of stuff. And a lot of that stuff is then challenged in the courts, and it takes a while for these challenges to actually play through. But this idea that like Democrats, you are taking the logic, you are taking the view that, number one, you're saying Donald Trump can do literally whatever he wants. That's not true. But you're using this premise to say, well, the Democrats can just do whatever they want to do at the state level. And this is just like really silly logic to me. I
think that state governments have enormous power to do things and tell the federal government to pound sand. This is almost like a classic scene from every movie that we've ever seen, where some dude kills a guy and all of a sudden 4 different divisions come in. Like, it's the FBI, it's the NSA, it's the state, Georgia Bureau of Investigations.
Trump.
It's the local cops. It's the local cops, and they're all like, I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge. But that has to get sorted, and it's not instant. And the federal government can't just say, no, I win, I'm bigger. It doesn't work that way.
They can, again, this is straight from the AG's mouth. They can just take that court case and put it in a federal court. And at that point, they would just toss it out.
No, they could try. And then there could be appeals. And then they could do the same type of bullshit that Trump is doing.
You're just assuming this, though, Dan. You're just assuming this.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
Because I've seen illegal shit.
Dan, you're doing the thing.
I've seen the illegal things that have been done by state prosecutors over time. Especially when it comes to immigrants, especially when it comes to prisoners that have been abused by the prison system trying to get cases, and the state is able to drag their heels even when they're trying to get the federal government in, and all of a sudden the federal government wants to get in because it wants to do something, and guess what? They're able to block it, and they're telling the federal government to pound sand, and they have to go and spend a lot of time. And guess what? It's not instant. It's not instant.
Okay.
It takes time.
Have you ever heard of something called the Green Lantern theory of politics, Dan?
No.
Okay. It's a theory that came up, I think Matty Iglesias came up with it, but then Ezra Klein wrote an article in 2014. And it is basically the idea that a lot of people in the country assume that when you win power, this is in the context of like presidential elections, but you could apply it in the way that you're doing now. Like if you win power, if you become the mayor, if you become the governor, if you become the president, you can just do whatever you want. It's just a matter of creativity. You either got to be charismatic enough or you got to be forceful enough. But you can basically do anything. But that's what you're doing. You're doing that with Democrats, though. You're just assuming, you're operating with the assumption that everything that you're proposing is possible. You just got to get creative about it. And you're not acknowledging that the system has checks that prevent Democrats from doing a lot of the stuff that you guys are proposing.
I agree that there are checks. And I think that we've seen those checks fail people time and time again. And I gave examples of like prisoners that are trying to bring cases against state officials with the backing of the federal government with what is that crime, civil rights violations. And we're seeing states going all out to block that type of thing in situations along those lines. So I don't sign on that it's instant and nothing can happen. I sign on that states have a tremendous amount of power to delay, to come up with novel arguments of why they can do the things that they can do. And I think that those are a positive benefit to have happen for just patently insane behavior from a corrupt administration. And I think that not trying is a sign of weakness, and that the journey is more important than
But you sound like the fucking lefties that got mad at Biden for not getting like a public option done because he didn't have the fucking votes in Congress. I've had so many arguments with lefties who make the case, well, you should have just tried anyways. I don't understand the logic in the case of Biden. In the case of Biden, he to get a public option, he would have needed fucking 60 votes or enough votes to get rid of the filibuster, and he never had those votes, so he didn't waste his time.
This is a totally different, completely disanalogous situation.
Wow.
Okay,
is it though?
Trump or Biden doesn't have votes to pass a bill. That's different. An attorney general can not care about votes. They can only care about jurors and the way that they're going to vote, and that's it.
But attorney generals, their offices are finite. Their resources are finite, and you are asking these attorneys general to devote a bunch of time and money and resources that could be spent fighting white collar crime or transnational criminals or gangs, and you're asking for them to devote all these resources because you're going up against the federal government. So you're going to need like a beefy team. You're going to need a big budget. You're going to need like a significant number of your staff working on these things that in the end don't really have like a plausible path forward. And that to me, I think is just very dubious, very questionable. Like I don't think I would want my state to be devoting that level of resource to something that.
I guess let's just use the example of the killers of Preddy here. So you had two people on duty that, in my eyes, are doing an illegal task. They're racially profiling people to essentially. I forget which amendment it is, but one of them. They're racially profiling people, seeing if they're a citizen or not. And even if they are, sometimes they fucking take you. It's unlawful search and seizure, the whole jazz. So to me, it's an illegal order across the board. And you have federal agents executing illegal orders. What do you think?
Didn't the Supreme Court rule on this with the Kavanaugh stops? Didn't they rule that it was like constitutional?
No, what they ruled is that in place, they didn't say that you can do it because someone's brown. They said that you could do it based off of other factors, like being in the Home Depot parking lot, picking up, looking for work. You can't see a brown guy and just go get them. That was not what was said. But to be fair, I would say it's somewhat dubious, the rulings that they're doing on any of this anyways. That said,
I may disagree with the ruling, but that's the process. So like if they decide, that the ICE agents can do this, the best course that we have, I'm not familiar, so I'll take your word for it. But like the best course that we have at that point is to win elections and then build consensus and then reshape the judiciary. That's the process for getting that done. But it starts with starts with beating them in elections.
The issue is that you're fundamentally we're not connecting on one point here, and I'm telling you the votes don't matter. Okay, it's who counts the votes. And you're like, well, they're trying right now. I'm saying they're not trying now. I'm saying that they're going to pull some.
What do you want me to do?
They're going to pull some ultra sneaky shit around the midterms. I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be some real Stephen Miller, Roger Stone type shit cooked up in the fucking darkest of rooms, and it's going to come out right before the midterms, and they're going to do everything they can to take those fucking midterms, and people like you and me are going to be bitching and moaning. And I'm saying the only way, because I know that's coming. I know that that's coming. I know it, that they will do everything they can. And because I know that that's coming, I know the only way I can potentially stop that from happening is to put the fear of God into the people that are going to be required to make that goal happen. And that's not just going to be the politicians. It's also the poll workers. It's the ICE agents. It's everything down the line. And the only way to put the fear of God in them is to show them today that we're going to go fucking bananas on you guys. That's it.
So number one, there's like, I've agreed with like a lot of what you've suggested. And so it's not that I'm saying that we shouldn't be vigilant and do nothing, but there are some of the things that you're suggesting that I think are just frankly a waste of time and resources and have no chance of success and would not produce the kind of outcome you're looking for. I just don't understand how you think if this was really true, like if the Trump administration they're all sleeping very sound at night because they know they're going to fucking steal the midterms. They've already got their plan in place and they know what they're going to do. And it's just waiting for the date to come where they do the big thing. I don't think anything that you're suggesting is going to dissuade them from doing that. Nothing right now.
Dissuade them? Yeah, there is one thing that could dissuade them. That's incorrect. If they don't think that they would have the backing of the people required, the judges and the poll workers and the ICE agents.
The backing to
they do right now because they feel
don't.
invincible. Then why are ICE agents going and racially profiling people?
If they feel invincible, hang on. If they feel invincible, why are they telling? Why is the White House telling Republicans in Congress to stop talking about mass deportations?
Because the public is turning against that.
Yes. So they're not like invincible right now. They're vulnerable right now. Why did they draw down from Minnesota? Why are they even entertaining conversations about ICE reforms in the context of this budget fight? They are.
That's good. That
if they knew they were just going to, if Donald Trump knows he's just going to steal the election, they have an ironclad plan. They planned it out and everything. They're certainly not acting like it. So like, why is Donald Trump like pressuring Congress?
They still have to act because they still have to act within reality.
They're putting on a show, or what do you mean?
Well, no, because he still needs to try and remain popular because the only way
is if
everyone. Well,
he's historically unpopular, Dan.
Hold on.
He's historically unpopular, Dan.
Yet he has enough of a backing that he's able to do this. The fact that Democrats are going along with crazy shit that he's doing.
He's the president.
He may be. I understand that. Okay. But you can't say he's so unpopular, everyone hates him. If that's the case, you would think that people would want their senators to not vote with him, but they do, right?
Well, those people, I mean, those senators that vote with like the Trump administration on this or that bill, they are accountable to their constituents. And so the next time there's a primary contest, those constituents, if there's enough of them and enough that disapprove, Fetterman, very unlikely to survive a primary when he's up for.
So is Fetterman just retarded? He doesn't want to be a politician anymore. And the other ones, the other Democrats that have voted with the Republicans,
it's hard to figure
Republicans that are voting with Trump.
It's hard.
They're all stupid.
Well, no, I think that they're accountable to their constituents. Like, I think there's a lot of senators and representatives that serve in red states and districts. And so they just have a different constituency than maybe where you live or where I live, where I don't know, is the place that you live even
like a very passive non-answer. So
it's not. It's just like
you're saying. Is Trump unpopular or not? Is Trump unpopular?
That doesn't mean that somebody who serves in a red district wouldn't be inclined to maybe vote for like 1 or 2 or 3 bills that Republicans are going for because their own constituents are like inundating their offices with phone calls and, like putting pressure on them to support these bills. Like every senator and representative is accountable to their constituents.
And in my mind, I see politicians, their number one priority is always getting reelected or getting elected, essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that if they thought that their guy was doing crazy shit, they probably wouldn't be wearing his shoes that they gave to him. They'd probably be like, wow, even most of my Republicans fucking hate this guy. I think I'm going to kind of distance myself and, not do anything. But instead, we see all in loyalty at this point.
That's not true. What are you talking about? There's not all in loyalty. We've had record numbers of resignations. You had one of the largest fundraisers in the entire party, Marjorie Taylor Greene, announced her retirement. She's now coming out and talking shit about Donald Trump. The Congress right now, the Senate, led by Thune, are telling Trump no. He's pressuring them very publicly to get rid of the filibuster to pass the SAVE Act, and they're saying no. It's not like, he's gotten a lot of what he wanted from this Congress. There's no doubt about that, but there are limits, and the fact that he's historically unpopular is limiting his ability to get stuff done, like right now. And you seem to think that this historically unpopular president would have the kind of institutional support that he would need to, literally steal the midterms in a way that is wholly unprecedented and would end the republic. And I'm just not seeing the kind of support out there in the public or even with his own party to pull something like that off. If he tries, okay, but I don't think he'll be successful. And if he is successful, then I'll join you. I don't even know why you keep bringing that up. Like, what am I supposed to do with this information?
See, this is kind of the crux of the issue, is that you're like, oh, well, I'll join you when all is lost. I don't need you to join me then. I need you to join me now. That's the problem.
Yeah, but I'm already in this fight in a different way. Like, I think the best thing that we can do right now is the thing that we've already been doing, which is like fuck them up electorally, like absolutely fuck them up electorally and win elections. And you're pushing back and you're saying, well, I think he's going to steal the midterms. Therefore, you should.
I do. Yes.
Well, I don't. I don't think he's going to be successful at doing that if he tries.
You know what?
I don't even think.
This is crazy. It's a guy who's literally known for denying election results and going balls to the wall to get what he wants. And you're like, he's not going to do anything. He's not going to try.
Say that.
He's just going to let.
I didn't
He's going to do
that.
everything
Dan,
humanly
I didn't
possible.
say that. I said he'll probably try some shenanigans.
Probably. Say no.
Bro,
say that he is not going to be successful. In his power. He will do everything in his power using the smartest, sneakiest motherfuckers that are on his staff.
He tried that in 2020 and he fucking failed miserably, bro. He failed
Who was in charge
miserably.
Then? Who was in charge then?
That doesn't matter. He still got to go through the courts.
It does matter then.
Dan, he still has to go through the courts in every single court.
I can't believe you're doing this. Of course it matters. When the DOJ is your lapdog, okay? When the Supreme Court is essentially
the Supreme Court told him no on like 3 separate cases in 2020, Dan. The same exact Supreme Court said, no, you're not going to steal this election. This is not, you have no merit here.
It's very wild.
Did they change since
these
then?
Are the same thing. If it was...
Did the Supreme Court change since then?
What is the question?
It's the same Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court told him, no, like you cannot, we're not going to let you steal this election. You have no case here. And they told him no. They told him to fuck off. So even if you have Bondi,
this was back when he lost, yes, but there was no evidence there, right?
There's not going to be any evidence here, bro. If they're going to try to steal this election, it's not going to happen.
Wait, are you saying that they might like do paper ballots only, and the people who?
How? What do you mean?
I don't know.
How would they do paper ballots only?
They might just like do an executive order. Yeah, they might just do an executive order.
He doesn't have that authority. He does not have that authority.
Okay, well, make sure you challenge that.
Dan, he tried to do. Do you remember like a couple months ago? He tried to do an executive order to get rid of mail-in ballots. That immediately got tossed out of court.
Maybe that was a precursor to know exactly what to do next time, so that he does it correctly.
Maybe, but again, if we're really in this worst-case scenario, the way that you suggest, number one, the stuff that you're suggesting is not going to prevent that from happening, and number two, if it pops off in that way, I'm with you. I mean, I just like...
That's too late. That's too late, though. I'm saying...
When did you guys become so doomer? I just feel like you guys have become so fucking radicalized.
Okay, this is a scorpion, and every time you put your hand near the scorpion, it stings you, and it stings you as hard as it fucking can, okay? And you are like, well, in the midterms, he probably is going to try and sting you, but, it'll be fine. I'm like, dude, that scorpion knows that if you win those midterms, he's going to die. Okay. This scorpion is going all out. He has all of his scorpion brothers that are going to be there in your shoe. He's going to be around the corner. He's going to do things you haven't even thought of yet.
He doesn't have a choice because he is constrained by the girthy cock of the American Constitution. Right now, he is constrained by the girthy cock of the American Constitution.
It doesn't feel that way for everything he does day to day.
I get that.
It really doesn't.
I do understand that, but I mean, you're
just saying this time it will be different.
You do have to take into account that like he has been constrained in numerous and significant ways. He can't
in some ways, usually not. Usually not.
Well, it depends on what he's going for. Like it could just be that the stuff that he's going for, he has the constitutional authority to at least like try and start and do. But he does not have the power to switch to just paper ballots. Like he has no authority to do that, and that would get thrown out of court like literally immediately, and the states would just ignore him. Like the red states would just ignore him, bro. And if he really did that, bro, then we are like, bro.
That's just like a specific example. That's a specific example.
I know, but I'm saying,
you're right. If he really did that, we're fucked. And I agree, which is why I'm all in on making sure that people think like,
I don't even agree
we should not be doing this. States are crazy.
I don't even agree
that states are charging motherfuckers.
I don't even agree that if he found a way through the process, which I don't think he has, I just don't think he can do that. I don't think he has any options to like stop these elections from happening. But
maybe hypothetically, maybe an attack goes off on American soil bebeforehand, martial law, and now
there's nothing in the he can't do that. It's not up to him. No, but he has no authority to do this. Like the states are the ones that very clearly it is laid out in the Constitution.
It goes to the Supreme Court and they decide that he can.
He won't. They won't do that, Dan. They will not do that. They will not say that the president can just invoke emergency powers, declare martial law, and then cancel elections. They would not do that.
No, they would say that, because of some electronic warfare attack that we can't trust X, Y, or Z.
Why didn't they do that in 2020? Why didn't they do that in 2020?
Because they weren't in power.
Yes, what do you mean? They were in power. He lost that election. It went to the Supreme Court. and they told him no. So why would they not do it then? But now they're on board. Did he like?
Because it was after the point. They would need to have them win, and then Democrats trying to do it. Like it's opposite. You understand? Like the people, like once you win, then you're on the back foot. You're trying to be like, no, I didn't. I actually did win.
You're saying that I did. You're saying that the Supreme
disadvantage.
So you're saying that the Supreme Court didn't let him steal an election after it was clear that he lost, but they'll let him prevent an election?
They might. Yeah, they could.
They're not gonna do that, Dan. I understand your vigilance. I understand feeling like worried in this moment. I understand that Donald Trump is a uniquely corrupt criminal president, and all of that matters, and he's doing like very real damage, and I'm not minimizing that at all, but he is not going to steal these midterms. We are going to have midterms. We are going to stomp them out. If he tries some shit, the courts will resoundingly like reject his efforts. And
you know what I'm going to hear from you?
No authority.
When it happens, you're going to be like, no one could have seen this coming.
No,
this is totally crazy. I can't believe that the Supreme Court is letting this wacky law that hasn't been even used since 1790. Like, this is fucking crazy. The fact that they're using the soldiers quartering rule is like nuts. That's what's gonna happen, and you're gonna be like, who would have known? I knew they were gonna do that.
I think our system is a good system precisely because it's really difficult for a Putin-like figure or a Xi Jinping-like figure or Kim Jong-un type figure to just do stuff, to just authoritatively do stuff. That's why I like our system, and he is going to run into that system again if he tries to pop the fuck off in the midterms, and he will lose that fight.
I would have agreed with you if it was last time
again.
When he had, you know why last time was different? It's because his staff, everyone on his team, was made up of like real people that understood that, like, at the end of the day, like Bill Barr, these guys, they're real dudes. They're real dudes. We don't have that anymore.
Dan,
that's gone.
His staff is not the issue. The issue is the other chambers of the other branches of government. Like you can't say
that when I can just watch the federal government come in and fucking seize voting machines.
They didn't do that illegally, Dan. They got a warrant from a judge. They're gonna investigate the voting machines, and then they're obviously trying to find like.
Are you listening to yourself? You think that can't happen again?
You think that a judge is going to sign off on the federal?
Why did it happen this time?
Because
Why did it happen
investigating
this time?
something that happened fucking 6 years ago, Dan. There's not going to be a judge
outside the statute of limitations, Hutch.
I don't think
Why
that's
are they there
true.
in the first place?
How the fuck did they get a warrant from a judge then?
Because it's a corrupt fucking government that doesn't care.
Okay, well, listen, in order for him to be successful, like, he's going to need the cooperation of the judiciary, and the judiciary has significantly checked him on a number of occasions already so far during this term. But you seem to be inclined to believe that the judiciary would sign off on him declaring emergency powers and then declaring that he has power that he just does not have in the Constitution. You think that they would sign off on that? And as disillusioned and black-pilled as you have become with the system right now, like there are limits, like there are boundaries that he cannot operate outside of. And this is one of those things that's firmly outside of those boundaries. I do wish that we could just fast forward so I can like pat that head of yours and just comfort you and say, look,
I need you to explain to me.
He went up against the girthy Constitution and he lost again.
I want to be explained how the DOJ is getting voting machines from Georgia right now.
Okay.
And why you're okay with that and think it's
why do you think I'm okay with that? Why do you think I'm okay with that?
No, sorry. No, I don't think you're okay with that. That's sorry. I want to know why you think they couldn't do that immediately after the election.
Because you would need a judge to sign off on it, and they're not going to go along with that.
Why did they sign off on this one?
Dan, that is an event that happened 6 years ago. They're not
that's stronger for my.
It wouldn't have any. It wouldn't.
On crimes like this is 5 years.
Dan, do you acknowledge that there's a difference between a judge signing off on the administration seizing voting machines before an election takes place? Understand there's a
what about immediately after?
They can try, but a judge is not going to sign off on that, buddy. That is not going to happen. If they try to conjure some, they literally have like no like constitutional authority to do this. If they try to assert that they have, like some evidence that there was fuckery, they're going to have to present that evidence to a court. And what do you think their odds of success are going to be in that spot?
well, I've been telling you from the beginning, it doesn't matter the success. It matters anchoring reality for the American public, and then they move forward with it. Hence why we had Bush versus Gore.
Why, if this was true, if the judiciary was so thoroughly compromised, as you say it is, then why have we seen the judiciary tell him that he had to withdraw national troops? Why has the judiciary told him that he couldn't do blanket tariffs in the way that he was doing? Why have the courts blocked a number of his policies, like big policies? If they were really that compromised and we're gearing up for the judiciary to go along with him stealing an election, then why are they doing these things right now?
So here's what I want to do. We're going to focus on something. Well, I'd like to focus on something because I think it's a good thing. The seizure of the election counting machines in Georgia is past the statute of limitations. Okay, it is not possible to bring this case. Okay, most federal crimes are 5 years, except for like murder and probably certain other things. It's past the statute of limitations. It's no longer possible to do this, but a judge signed off on it. So how? Because in your world, this shouldn't be possible to have happen, right? But a judge did it anyways for a voting machine in a state. And if that happened there, why would it not happen again?
He would have to seize. Do you understand how many fucking voting machines he would have to seize to steal these midterms? You understand? Like he would have to seize like literally thousands of voting machines.
I mean, only in a few certain districts, right?
No, what are you talking about? Like these are midterms all over the country. He can't make up for, like the losses that they will sustain by just focusing on like one or two jurisdictions. This would have to be like literally thousands of voting machines seized. And if that's really the case, then we are off to the races. People will take. To
be clear, okay, unless you think that like we're barely going to get the Senate if we get it in the delightful world. And what's the current amount of seats that we're supposed to be positive if things go to plan? For the House?
I mean, nobody knows for sure, but it could be anywhere between like a 20, 30. It could be like, it depends. Like if they continue on the current trend right now, it could be 30 plus seats, but I think realistic projections are between 20 and 30 seats.
Okay.
So I really have to fucking pee right now. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. 1 second.
I'm going to remember exactly.
Don't get me in trouble. Don't say anything. Don't say anything crazy. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You need to understand that he doesn't need to do this all across the country, right? He just needs to pick up a certain amount of. He just needs to be the majority. That's it. He just needs to do it in one place. Or maybe two states.
No.
That's enough.
No.
Okay.
For the Senate, sure. For the Senate, he could try to block the Senate, but not for the House. You would need more than two states.
All right. How many states does he need just to keep a majority?
Well, hang on. Just so we're clear. So how does this play out to you? Okay. So he says, we have evidence of a crime. We're going to take these voting machines and you're just not going to hold elections?
Oh, well, no, we're talking about a different thing here. Like, I think in this case, it'll be some shenanigans. Tulsi Gabbard will be there wearing a baseball cap in the background. Hard to say exactly how it'll go down.
Okay, so
I'm not that evil to know.
So they just steal voting machines from heavily blue districts, but the rest of the votes...
not steal. There was a cyber attack by Venezuela. They were able to intercept it.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were able to... A lot of the votes added there were fake. Okay, but anyone who did a paper ballot, that's okay. We're counting them now in the back, and everything is fine.
And so they would disenfranchise a bunch of like Democratic voters, but then the rest of the votes in that state would count. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I can't listen. You're asking me to tell you how they're going to steal the election, and the answer is I don't know. I don't know, but I do know that they're smarter than me and they're smarter than you. And if there's a way to do it that they can get past, they will do it. And you're naive if you think that they won't try and they won't do the sneakiest, most manipulative, evilest fucking plan.
Miserably in 2020.
Maybe they just want. Maybe
they failed miserably in 2020.
Things were different in that circumstance.
Well, I don't even know what that means.
Well, in that circumstance, they still had real people that thought that there was consequences for their actions.
You cannot unilaterally. We're looping here. The administration cannot.
You're right, because you think that Bill Barr is the same as what we have now, and it's not.
Even if you had Bondi back then, she would have been laughed out of court just the same. Instead of 60 court cases, maybe it would have been 200 court cases, but they would have been laughed out of court all the same, man.
I don't think so.
You seem to think that in the last 6 years, the judiciary has transformed so radically that even though they were not on board with his attempt to steal the 2020 election, the whole judiciary is transformed so profoundly that they all of a sudden would be
it's
willing
more
to go
dangerous
along.
now because he has a more sycophantic staff and he's learned from the lessons of
I take your point there. I don't disagree that the danger is technically higher, but still, at the end of the day, you're going to have to go through those courts, and the courts are not going to sign off on this.
But some are today, and I'm showing you that they are. And you
that
have no
will get
answer for that.
appealed, and that will be expedited, and it would be resolved immediately.
Really? Not resolved right now? How long has it been? Let's see.
What's not resolved right now? What election are taking place? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the seizing of the election machine.
That Dan,
What?
them taking the Georgia election machines is like, I agree with you, super alarming, really bad. It has no bearing.
It's illegal in every way possible.
I
The
would
federal
even
government
maybe I
came
grant
in
you
there.
that. Maybe
Hold
I
on.
grant
The
you
federal
this.
government came in with no way to do this beyond the statute of limitations.
Okay, let me just
and they basically dick slapped the state and took the fucking records.
Great, but that is not.
And you're
this,
like, they won't do that again.
No, Dan, this is something. These voting machines would be in the context of a current election that is like taking place. So them, whatever fuckery they did, and I'll just grant you that what they did, maybe it was illegal. Maybe like, I don't know how they got a warrant signed. It does sound crazy. There's a lot of people asking like questions about this, but there's a difference between that, which is really, really bad, I grant you, and preemptively, or I guess like, DOJ showing up to a polling station and then like seizing all these machines in the middle of something that's happening right now. Like, I'm
not saying, no, see, this is not fair because I'm not saying that they're going to do that. I'm using it as an example to say that they don't care what the laws are right now. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Listen, if they really do like try what you're suggesting,
because you're falling back too much on the courts won't allow it, and I'm saying, yeah, they will. Look,
listen,
and you're like, well, that doesn't matter.
If they really do try what you're suggesting, then we are like beyond a constitutional crisis, but I think they will ultimately lose that fight. He does not have the kind of spot. He would get cooed by the fucking military, by his own military, even after these purges. Before
no, he wouldn't.
He would before they would ever let him get along with something like that. They didn't literally. They didn't literally like get rid of every single possible general. Do you think the generals feel good about having to serve underneath fucking Pete Hegseth, by the way? Do you think they're fucking thrilled about that? That fucking clown? These people are like serious academics who've dedicated their entire careers to, fidelity to the Constitution and protecting the homeland. And you think they feel good about serving under Pete fucking Hegseth? Like, I just don't think.
I think some of them absolutely don't, but I think that there's also been loyalists that have been moved around inside of the military.
Sure. I mean,
I think that if you're saying like, are they going to do it? Well, I don't know. We stole a fucking president, and now we're at war with Iran, and we just did that as if like, fuck it, let's YOLO. I think maybe the military just wants to fucking do military shit, and that's all they care about. They've been waiting their whole life to do a war, now they get to do it.
If we get past the midterms, and none of this fuckery plays out in the way that you think, and maybe he tries some things, maybe he doesn't, but we get past the midterms and the Democrats take back control of the Congress. Are you gonna feel better?
If we take back Congress and the Senate,
well, yeah.
I
mean,
even
if we just take back the House, even if we just take back the House.
My fear of what's going to happen if Democrats do take back, let's just say both the best case scenario, we take back the Senate and the House. My fear is that we will see a leftist bubble form up that will refuse to do anything for the Democrats unless they sign on to fucking insane shit, and nothing will happen the same. Is my fear.
Leftist bubble in Congress, you mean, or what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So essentially, like, if Democrats have enough power to push something crazy, that they're going to start essentially demanding, like, you want us to vote with you this way, then you have to also say that you have to include this in the bill as well, $40 minimum wage or something like that. I think that will happen, and that'll slow down progress a lot.
Well, that didn't happen in 2018, didn't happen in 2020, didn't happen in 2022. It's not happening now. I mean, it's possible. It's possible, but I mean,
on what's happened in the past. Neither can you. It's a new day.
Do you think that like the squad would stop the Democratic Party from holding this administration accountable if they didn't like push for $15 an hour? This is completely detached from reality, Dan. That is so far. That is so outside the boundaries of like anything that is even possible. There's no indication that something like that would happen.
Because you're making it very broad. If it was as simple as that, but it's never as simple as that, right? So I'm saying, like, I'm saying that when Democrats, if they get power and they're trying to do things, I think that you will see fringe points of it demanding things to go along with the party. Yeah, I do think that you will see that. For
I
sure.
mean, listen, the fringies are on the ropes, man. They're not doing great right now. The only hope they have in 2028 is AOC, and it's not even clear that she's going to run for president. So like, there's nothing right now. I suppose if I entertain your worst case possible scenario, then it's possible theoretically. There's no indication that anything like that is brewing right now. What Donald Trump has done for the Democratic Party, this is one silver lining of the Trump era, is he has ushered in an unprecedented era of cohesion. So even though there's these ideological differences in the party, they have been uniformly, like almost uniformly, for the most part, like opposed to the administration. Like they've worked together to get Biden's agenda passed. They worked together to hold Trump accountable during the first term and do impeachment stuff. And, like there's just no sign of this happening. There's like no sign. Every time I try to inject some little bit of hopium in your veins, Dan, you hit me immediately with just like literally the worst case scenario. And
I'm hitting you with what's happening today, and you're like, well, that's not different.
No, hang on. But that is not happening today. Like,
again, the example of the seizing of the voting machine. There's no cause to do it. It's past the statute of limitation. Flat out illegal, but a state judge signed off on it. I need an explanation for how this happened.
I'm not privy to these details. I can't tell you like how he did that.
Meme answer is I'm not prepared at this time to answer that question. But
I am not prepared at this time to answer that question. I mean, literally, I don't know enough about that.
You don't know how a RBKM reactor explodes. I know. Yeah, that's I think the issue that we're at right now is you're like they're not going to do wild shit, and I know they're going to do wild shit, but I'm not smart enough to know the wild shit that they're going to do. Is the problem.
They can try, but listen, I've just in the last 10 years, I have seen this president operate with an unprecedented level of corruption and criminality, and but I've also seen the system constrain him in very, very meaningful ways. I think this guy, if you gave him absolute power, he would fucking just like, there would be death camps. There would be fucking death camps in this country. I'm not even, he would arrest people for, like having this conversation that you and I are having right now. It would be like V for Vendetta. The fucking door would get kicked down. Somebody would black bag us, throw us in a fucking car. Like I do think that he has his instincts and his ego are so big
that there's still some. Yes, I agree.
And the fact that that's not happening right now is a testament to like our system. Like our system is girthy and it is meaty and it is.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That is not happening right now because too many people would be offended. But the problem is not enough people were offended when we were racially profiling people walking on the street and sending them to fucking El Salvador CCOT prison.
What do you mean? There's this level. We've never seen this many protests during a presidency. We've never seen this much.
I understand,
voter engagement. Well, again,
he does as much as he can get away with each time. That's kind of
obviously,
the issue. And people sign off on it, right? Initially, they sign off on it. People fly the planes. People at the airport give them clearance to take off. People at the jail hand over it to the guy. And what I'm saying,
I understand. And then Mahmoud Khalil ends up on a plane back in the United States. So
but the damage is done. What I'm saying is that,
but we can't do anything about that, Dan.
That's where we disagree. That's where we disagree. You do things by having the proletariat not go along with the king's orders.
Wait, are you a leftist?
You do that? No.
Okay, I'm just all right.
Not at all.
Look, if you can find a way to get, obviously you're friends with Steven. He has a massive platform, much, much bigger than mine. It's not just up to politicians. It's not just up to politicians. You don't need politicians to stir up a movement of, patriotic civilians that would, take to the streets and use various methods to pressure politicians to do these things. Like you guys can start doing that right now without politicians, trying to get the public to be more engaged and more informed.
That's an unfair answer. I'm telling you, I'm witnessing the crazy stuff and we're acknowledging it happening around us. And why aren't you at the soup kitchen? Well, maybe this is the most good that I can do right now is talking with you about it as opposed to going out there and handing out soup to people. I understand that logic, sure. But
I understand.
Right. But these guys are very smart. They're very sneaky. They're very fucking evil. And I don't think that we can count on countering something we don't know that's coming. They have a plan, I'm sure, for the midterms. Very smart people
Can't
that
stop
are
what's coming.
willing to bend or break or completely forego laws and rules are coming up with plans to win the midterms.
There's a ocean rising in this country, and they can't stop it. They might try. They might try, but they can't stop it.
They will try. And my concern is the only way to slow it down or to prevent it from happening is to make them feel that the guy that's going to put the ammo in the boxes that's going to get sent to the other country is scared to do it because it's illegal. That's like a War Dogs reference here. But essentially, it needs loyalty. People, what was this from? It was something where essentially people watched a lot of crimes happening because people saw the crimes happening and no one else did anything. And that's it. And I think that I see, like, when I look at the country, Dan, I see an electorate that is engaged at a level that is truly unprecedented in the modern era, like heading into midterms. I see, like, voter turnout is like jacked to the fucking tits. I see an electorate that is like voicing their disgust and protesting more than any other administration ever in the fucking history of the republic. Which is why it's going to be so sad when Trump rolls out fucking Order 66 and a bunch of like senators get fucking sent into space or something by accident. And whoops, well, sorry, we got to redo these ones. I mean, we have, yeah, like, that'll be really sad when that happens. Dan, we have like, I think it's like 6 months or 7 or 8 months, 8 months until these midterms. Okay. And so there's not really a lot of time to like execute on this plan that you're proposing here. And we can talk about things maybe as they should be in your mind, and strategies that are being wasted or not being pursued aggressively enough, and all that's well and good, but you know, we both exist in the world as it is, and right now that is like none of those things are happening. And I don't think you're going to persuade people like Keith Ellison to, you know, to do these like purely symbolic fights that I would argue don't really amount to anything and don't actually dissuade the administration. I can't believe you say that. I think it's so meaningful to try and hold people up and down the line of Trump's administration responsible today. Not in the way that you're just scares the fuck out of them. No, but not in the way that you're proposing. Why would they be afraid of, you know, like, because they know Trump can't pardon them. They can't. Fuck. They're like, these guys are coming after all my real estate that I have in New York. This sucks. Fuck. I can't do anything. This really sucks. Trump, can you do anything? Sorry, that's state court. What do you want me to do? We have former Doge employees right now that are being sued and they're being deposed. And some of these videos are showing up on the internet right now. And so, like, do you think that's really meaningfully like stopping this administration from being corrupt or dissuading them from executing on some grand scheme to literally steal the midterms in a way that's never been done before in the history of the republic? It would amount to like the end of America. I mean, that would be it. I mean, like, if he literally did that, then he's never leaving office. You know, like, he would dissolve the courts, he would dissolve the Congress. That's the only logical through line. Because where else do you go from there if you literally steal elections like that? Like, you know, that is what we're talking about here. And so, you know, what do you mean? Like, if he literally did that, if he took such extreme measures to steal the midterms, to prevent the Democrats from winning majorities in Congress, then at that point, he's already crossed a line that he's never going to uncross. Like, he's never going to leave office at that point. He'll, you know, like, I agree. The courts will tell him no, and if he ignores them, then that's it. The Republic. I'm not sure that that's the case, by the way. That the courts are going to tell him no? If you want that to be something I take for granted, you have to explain to me how the court gave him the ability to seize a voting machine past the statute of limitations. Something they should have never been able to do in the statute of limitations. And you would have to explain to me, like, what evidence you have that the judiciary as it is right now, like, what have they shown you so far that would indicate that they would be willing to go along with Donald Trump just like stealing the midterms and just like disenfranchising millions of people? Because I have plenty of evidence to show you that the courts have checked Trump meaningfully on so many things. And like, I don't understand why would they even be checking him on these things if the plan is to just fucking steal the midterms? Well, the plan only works if you don't tell people about it until it's too late, would be the first thing I would say on that. So you're saying that they're all pretending to be reasonable now and pretending to check him now. It's a very in the know thing, but if you were going to do it, if you're a statistician on this is how you would do it. if you actually wanted to steal an election, you would make it look like you were a bunch of fucking morons and you didn't know what's going on and you're going to do some dumb ploy and not know, but actually you're a fucking Giga Chad. You would play, you make it seem like you have a weak hand the whole time and you would kind of hold your cards loosely so they can see, oh, he has a queen, but the whole time you actually had fucking pocket aces up your sleeve. That's how you would do it.
They're playing
you
the
would
long
make
game.
The Democrats feel comfortable.
They're playing the long game. You know, the Supreme Court would be, you know, I guess they were doing that back in 2020 when they didn't let him steal the election. You know, they're playing the long game. They were really waiting for the 2026 midterms to execute. They didn't have the support to execute on. They didn't have this. Listen, when we get past these midterms, and we will have these midterms, and when the Democrats take over, and they will take over,
you have to admit that there's the support level for him to do stuff is different then than it is now, right?
When this happens, Dan, are you going to move the goalpost?
His VP, no, because it's not fair. His VP wasn't with him. His AG wasn't with him. This is a different world, Hutch. You can't say it's the same. It's completely different.
When we get past these midterms, and we will, we're going to have midterms. He's not going to stop what's coming. There's going to be a blue wave. It's going to be brutal. When this happens and we get past this, are you going to shift the goalposts? Or are you going to join me in thinking maybe that there are enough patriots in control of this country, and maybe, just maybe, we're going to get on the other side of this whole Trump thing?
Trump himself is not what concerns me. It's Stephen Miller and the people that
dork.
You fail to understand the power. Stephen Miller is worth 100 fucking good, faring, law-abiding Democrats.
How's it working out for Republicans right now, though? How's it working out for them?
Well, I don't know. They're in fucking office. They're sending fucking brown people to places they shouldn't be. It seems like it's working pretty good. Their Project 25 looks like they're crossing off a lot of the fucking items on that list.
I don't understand, though. Like, if you're saying that they're willing to go to such extraordinary lengths to steal the midterms in the way that you seem to be like very much convinced that they're going to do, I don't understand why. But I don't understand why they would have allowed the fucking bloodbath that's been taking place all over the country for the last year. You know, like, why would they allow any of that, really?
It literally could be part of the plan, unironically. Like, it could be fatigue. You get enough people talking about stolen election. You get enough people saying, oh, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing, that by the time, you know, everyone's watching this hand, and by the time the elections come, they do something else. No one thought about it. No one talked about it, and it's over.
Well, listen, I can't seem to, I don't want to try to persuade you, because you seem immovable on this, and that's
I'm not immovable.
And that's fine.
I just want you should acknowledge that someone like Stephen Miller is worth 100 good Democrats as far as getting shit accomplished, getting things done. Absolutely. He is not a dork. He is a fucking force of evil.
No,
he is fucking Voldemort.
He's evil, but he's not Machiavellian. He thinks he's like, every time he goes out there in front of the media and tries to make the case, he just ends up making the administration look worse. He's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to stop like what is happening across the country in terms of like voters showing up and taking power from them. You know, like, so, you know, is he evil? And do you think that
Roger Stone is a more effective politician than Dan Goldman?
More effective politician or a political operative, or like just more efficient or effective in politics?
I guess I would say, as far as imposing his will into the reality of where we are today.
I think Roger Stone is competent in ways that Stephen Miller is not. I think you're gassing up Stephen Miller as some, like, you know, evil genius, but I don't think that guy's a genius. I think. Oh, you're muted, by the way.
Oh, sorry. There's a lot of Roger Stones. We can use him then. That's fine. Like, Roger Stone is just, to me, like, there's so many more of them on the other side.
Well, we got evil. A lot of like Norm Eisens, though, who have experience arguing Supreme Court cases against this administration and winning. And so it's not like the Democrats don't have anybody on our bench to like fight them in the courts.
We're playing Monopoly and they're fucking throwing the cards on the floor and being like, we got to start over. And then your mom is like, yeah, you got to start over. I don't know where all the pieces were. Like, you don't get it. It's different. It's another world.
I don't know. They play it differently than we do. Like, they are obviously pushing things way further during this second administration. No one would fight you on that. But the idea that they're totally unconstrained and they're literally tossing out all the rules when he still has to get bills passed through Congress. He still has to, you know, get them to sign off on a budget. He still has to deal with, he doesn't. I understand that, because Listen, I don't know what your media diet is. Maybe you're listening to too much Steven, but like this administration has been checked in very meaningful ways, like a number of times.
But they've also been unchecked on
but
many
not,
ways.
Not on
and when
anything
they've been
even
checked,
not in
you
anything.
get the Fettermans going along with them too.
Not
even on those.
No, we did. Even if Fetterman didn't go along, we don't have the power to stop them from doing stuff. Like we just don't. 99.
Yeah, but we're doing it anyways. We're willingly doing it.
Willingly doing what now? Wait, what?
Like going to the War Powers Act, right? That was done. Like Democrats didn't have to sign on to that. We did anyways.
Yeah, there was a number of them that did that, but I'm just saying like the vast majority of Democrats have been like unified in opposition to this president, and that's going to continue, and we're going to fucking harass the shit out of them when we take back the House and the Senate. We're going to fucking impeach members of the cabinet. We're going to impeach him again. We're going to bog them down in controversy, and we're going to make life miserable for these fucking guys, and they're all going to lose their jobs one by one. They're all dropping like flies, and they really can't stop what's coming. And so, like, I don't think I can convince you, and I accept that now. But if we do get past these midterms,
you take nothing away from what I said. It's just you can't convince me. I'm delusional and doomered. But
I don't think you're. Look, I don't think that. I think you have every right to be like very vigilant. That's
because I see it happening today.
I know. That's why I'm saying you have every right. I'm saying you have every right to be very vigilant about what could happen. I'm not saying that that's wrong or irrational. I do think that you are like very resigned to the absolute worst case scenario happening. When I look at the situation, the dynamic in this country, I see a presidency that is crumbling. I see a Republican Party that is sinking like very fast. And I don't think they have the juice to overcome that.
This sounds to me like a cornered cat that will do anything to avoid losing everything. And there's a lot of people that stand to lose despite the pardons and everything else if this goes south.
Well, listen, I can't tell you for sure that this stuff's not going to happen. So if you're just going to do like, well, what if this happens? This is going to happen. This is going to happen. But none of us know the future. And
hold on, this is not fair because I can point to what's happening today. And you just keep going, well, it's going to be different. That one doesn't count. This one doesn't count. I'm pointing to things
that are happening today. I'm pointing to the ways that this administration has been constrained. And you keep going back to, well, it doesn't look that way.
I agree. You can't go kill every Democrat right now. Sure, they're constrained. They can't do that. But then I say they're seizing a voting machine past the statute of limitations when they don't have the authorization to do it. And a judge signed off on it. And you're like, well, that won't happen again. Or that's not going to happen in bulk.
They would have to seize a lot of voting machines.
That's not an answer to that. They just seized. Do you think it was just one that they seized? They seized a lot of votes. A lot of votes got seized.
If we are really in that territory,
we are. You see it. You just happened.
If we're already there, hang on. If we're already there and this is already predetermined, they're gonna do this. Then nothing you're suggesting is going to stop that from happening.
Wrong.
Nothing you're suggesting is going to. You don't think that he would be able? Hang on, Dan. Do you know how many people work in the DOJ? It's thousands of people, right? You're telling me that with your strategy, you could prevent like enough of them from acting on these orders to like stop the steal from happening?
Enough. Let me ask you.
You're not gonna. No. If they've already decided that they're gonna do this, if they've already decided they're gonna do this, they'll send in the military. Like if the DOJ.
Hold on. The military is with your. Stop. That is incorrect. The military is with Trump. Hence, by the fact why they do his illegal shit right now.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Dan.
That notwithstanding, do you know why when politicians are trying to rally their base to come out and vote for them, they don't say, guys, we're fucking behind, man. I really need you guys to get everyone out to vote. We're behind. Guys, we're fucking, like, we're hold on, let me finish. We're 5% behind. We've got to get, you know why? Because if you're in a position of weakness, Dan, you lose everyone. That's why everyone's always winning huge.
Listen to me.
We don't even need you. Stay home.
I need you to help me make sense of something, okay? Because there's something that is just like gnawing at me right now. If it's true that they've already devised this surefire scheme, nothing's going to stop them or whatever, then why do any of these people who are, who would potentially face consequences, the likes of which you're trying to make happen, why would they give a fuck? We're going to steal the election. Who cares if they fucking sue me or try criminal charges?
I'm glad you're asking that because this is important to understand. Because any plan, as you're saying, will be large, requires the masses to look out the window and say, yeah, that's normal. But it won't be normal if people start taking action today. That's the difference. It requires this. Like the example I was just giving you of why politicians don't say we're behind, we really need you to come out and vote, is because it's like, oh, it's fucking over, it's done. But when Trump comes out, we're winning so big. I'm telling the elderly people, don't even come out to vote. We got it so big. We got it so big, we're going to win. It's so huge. The reason that you do that, and that becomes
He's not doing that, though.
When that becomes the feeling that everyone has, everyone's like, yeah, I'm going to go along with this. Trump's going to win. Trump won.
He's not doing that, though.
I'm safe here. But if you don't feel like you're safe, if you feel like the person who authorized the judge who authorized this warrant on the voting machine is in jail now.
But Dan, he's not doing that.
Then you're
now.
like, shit, I'm not doing this.
But Dan, he's not doing that now. He's going up there and saying,
how recently? Like this was just
very recently. He's going up
things changed in the last week. Then
I don't know what you're referring to, but there are so many clips of Donald Trump saying, that the midterms look a little dodgy or hinting to as much. And every Republican, literally every Republican at this point, has come out and said, like, man, the midterms are not looking great. They are not operating with they're not signaling or telegraphing any kind of nefarious thing. They do not look comfortable. They do not look like, oh, we got this. We got Order 66, so we're going to be fine. They're resigning en masse. They're resigning.
66 requires the soldiers to go along with it. Right?
But Dan,
it requires that.
But Dan,
they need to think that this whole thing isn't going to collapse. When you see the vice president, like we saw in 2020, like you keep bringing up, when we see Pence, when you see Pence, like, I'm sorry, I'm not with Trump. He's gone. When you see his attorney general, I'm not with him. He's gone. He's crazy. Yeah, it's easy to not have support of the people. But when everyone in the government is like, this is fine, I'm the Department of Justice, it's good. The vice president, yep, this is good. When everyone's saying it's good, it's different.
But we're already seeing a record level of protests in this country. So many of the largest protests that have taken place in this country throughout our entire nation's history have happened during this term, Dan. So like this,
I agree. Yeah.
And if the situation is as you describe it as, then nothing that you're going to do is going to dissuade them, Dan. They're going to try to do this thing.
I disagree on that part.
You say he has the support of the military. What the fuck does he care about, like, prosecuting ICE agents in Minnesota? If he really has the support of the military and they're going to go along with his plan to, like, selectively disenfranchise, blue districts in this state or that state or this state, then we are fucked. And like nothing that you're doing right now is going to stop that from happening. I could just, I could play the worst case scenario game right back at you in this spot and just be like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. It's, if we're that fucked, that's not going to work.
You can't, because any plan to do something requires public support and also a belief that everyone else is aligned with it. Like that's when governments topple, when there's a critical mass and people are like, oh, no one actually is supporting this guy anymore.
I promise you, buddy. If he fucking shows up with fucking Pam Bondi and Tulsi Gabbard and seizes voting machines like on the day of the election or the day before the election, we think the Venezuelans are doing whatever.
I mean, he's not gonna do it, and it'll be clever and it'll be sneaky, and I don't know what it is, but maybe there'll be an attack. Maybe he'll say there's a cyber attack.
Well, you can't subtly. I mean, whatever it is, you can't subtly like disenfranchise millions of people. And so if he does that, you don't really
need to do millions, do you? You just need to do enough to win.
If he does that, do you agree with me that probably like tens of millions of people would take to the streets and shut it all down, and it would be general strike time, and it would pop the fuck off in a way that would eclipse the civil rights movement and the suffrage movement and all Earth Day, all of that combined? It would be the largest protest movement ever in the history of the world of any country.
It would be a large protest. I don't know if it would be enough, and I don't know if anything would come from it.
It would be more than a large country. It would be the largest protest movement ever in history ever of any country. I promise you that.
Of every country?
Yes.
You're high.
Wait, it's already happened though. Wait, what do you mean? It's already happened.
Okay, the biggest protests of all time. You think those are happening in the United States?
Yes. What do you mean? Hang on.
I mean, like, do you not count things like the Arab Spring as like protests?
I don't know how many people were protesting during that time, but here, hold on.
Okay.
What are the top 10 the top 10 biggest protests?
I mean, I feel like if you're not including revolution, then maybe because America is free and we
Well,
have
we would be in
protests, that
revolution
might be
territory
ridiculous.
at that point. Is my point. We would be in revolution
Right,
territory at that
but then
point.
you have to count like revolutions, right?
Well, even then, what are the top 10 biggest protests of any country ever? I bet you like most of these are in America. Oh, Indian farmers protest was the largest one. 2020 to 2021. Apparently India popped the fuck off. Then George Floyd. Then Women's March. Then anti-Iraq war. Tiananmen Square. The Baltic Way. Earth Day. May 1968, France, and then Salt March in India in 1930. So we have like...
Are any of those this year?
No, none of those. But I don't.
Okay,
hang on.
thank
I
you.
don't. Hang on. I don't know if this is true. I'm pretty sure No Kings was bigger than George Floyd.
We're
but
not counting
maybe they mean
revolutions.
like sustained. But Dan, we would have a revolution. Is my point. Like we would have a revolution. Okay, there would be tens of millions of people in the streets. We would shut that shit down, and maybe they get violent and they start shooting or whatever, and then I don't know what it's like. Possible, I guess.
So we're
possible,
not. Not even in the top 10. We're not in the top 10 right now.
We
That's what
have
you're saying.
multiple in the top 10, Dan. What are you talking about?
For this year, right now.
No, I'm not. Like this year, right now, I don't think that this is.
So not for this. Okay. You're saying stuff in the past. That has no
Dan,
bearing
do
on
you
today.
disagree? Do you disagree?
Oh,
Fine. You want to take issue.
You're being
you
a
want to
little.
take
You know what
issue.
you remind me of?
You want to
You're
take
reminding me
issue
of
with
Pisco right now. That's very sneaky.
Dan,
but I
you
can
want to
capture
take
that move.
You want to take
Okay.
issue with like the particulars in a way that don't matter. Do you disagree that there would probably be tens of millions of... It would certainly... Here, fine, I'll restrict it to just the United States. It would be the largest protest in the history of the U.S.
Yes, it would.
It would be massively disruptive. Massively disruptive.
Well, the only thing, again, and this is where you're not accounting for this. It only accounts for if he comes out and say, "I'm stealing the election, get fucked, retards, what up, can't do shit." Like then, yeah, huge protest. But if he can come up with a way to do it,
Nope.
where it's the slow boil of the frog, then not so much a protest, honestly,
No.
right? If it's like we're okay, well.
Absolutely.
Like
there's no conceivable way he could do this, Dan. There's no conceivable way he could convince the electorate I had to disenfranchise, like fucking 2 million people in Atlanta or something. There's no like subtle way for him to do that. There's no sneaky way. It would all have to be very on the nose because you're necessarily disenfranchising like millions of people. And the public, the American people are not going to just like watch that happen and not shut shit down. They will shut it all down. They will block airports. They will fucking block commerce. They will fucking shut everything down. And it will go on for weeks or months, but I don't even want to grant you that this is going to happen, Dan, because he's not going to be able to pull this off. He cannot stop what is coming. We do have a girthy constitution. He's got to contend with that. And he's not going to win.
I feel bad for you. I have
feel
enough
bad
money
for
to go to
you,
another
man. You sound miserable.
No, I feel bad for you. You don't have enough money to go to another country. I'm gonna be going where all the billionaires go, like New Zealand or something. I'll be watching.
Country?
They're gonna
hang on now.
They're gonna
like
round your
like
ass
you.
up. You know what they say? They're gonna round your ass up, okay, and fucking execute you because you're gonna be a fringe political commentator that has enemies against the state with wrong think.
They got you in 4K. They got you in 4K right now. You're fucking blowing the whistle, bro. Like you're giving the game away. You're doing the plan, okay? So they got you on a list. They're like, he's gonna be priority day one. That motherfucker, he's gonna need to charter a private plane because we will stop him at the airport and throw him in prison, okay? I'm the guy that's saying that that's not gonna happen, but you're giving away the game. Like you're getting ahead of it here, man. You're a threat. You're a threat to their schemes.
All I can do with any experiment is look at the results of past experiments and base my future hypothesis on that. And
but you're not doing that, though. You're not doing that.
Because, I am. I'm looking at what Trump's doing. He's like seizing voting machines that he shouldn't be able to do, and no one, and he's getting approval to do it. And I'm looking at stuff like that. Most recently, it's like, well, I mean, I guess he'll do that again since he did it this time and it worked, right?
Listen, maybe I'm more of a patriot than you, okay? Because I believe very firmly that my country.
And you're also, by the way, let me be clear when I say this. You're also assuming something that they're going to play within the bounds of reality, okay? And what I mean by that is I'm about to say something that we haven't discussed, and you're going to be like, oh, that's ridiculous, that's crazy, that'll never happen. Like, everything that we've talked about would cause a protest, for the most part.
It would cause a revolt, a mass revolt.
You know what wouldn't cause a mass revolt? Is if, like, I know, just let me go through with this because I want you to understand that it's not always this simple. There won't always be a mass revolt if the people genuinely think, oh, damn, Trump actually fucking won. So if people actually went in and fucked with the voting machines before the elections, right? Illegally, just breaking the law, like literally, like they claim Democrats did. They did that. And then when election night's coming and all the results are coming in, and there's this fucking algo in there that no one notices or no
Now
one
you
sees.
sound like
that,
MAGA. You sound like
hold
MAGA.
on. Wait a second. But I'm saying,
how do we know they didn't already do that?
Let me finish. Come on, man. I'm saying that if they did that, and this would be illegal, okay? And Democrats watched in real time as Trump won Atlanta. This is fucking crazy. How the fuck did he win Atlanta? Right? This is nuts. He just barely won, but he won it enough. That's fucking nuts. And then by the time any Democrats are like, wait, how the fuck did this motherfucker win Georgia? All the software has been reverted. That's the end. So when you're telling me it's not possible, they can't do it, etc., when their life is on the line, when their fortune is on the line, when everything is on the line in a way that he never has been before, because Biden or Obama or Clinton didn't think that he was going to lose all of his money and go to jail for the rest of his life and all of his friends. This is so high stakes for you to think that they wouldn't just go and say, fuck it, we're just literally going to rig the election is delusional. Because they do it in other countries. They do it in Russia. They do it in monarchical countries.
Again,
they could absolutely happen.
Listen, I'm more of a patriot than you because being an American, I know that my system is fucking secure as fuck, okay? So if they went in there and fucking switched votes around, guess what? They got to survive multiple audits from multiple independent agencies. They got to survive multiple recounts. And you don't think our system with the layers of, like, how many times they recounted Georgia 3 fucking times, bro? 3 fucking times. And it netted Biden like 500 extra votes or something like that. If they were to switch people's votes around or something, all of this is, there's like the public accounting of this, okay? Like, that's why our election systems are so fucking resilient to this kind of thing. It is no simple thing to just go in and change votes around. That you are unironically just doing a MAGA argument. Every time Democrats win, they suggest what you're suggesting now. Well, they went in there, they just fucking tampered with the votes. It's not easy.
I've never suggested that ever. That is incorrect. I don't even know if Stevens ever suggested that Republicans went in and like literally were.
But you're saying that now. But you're saying that now. You're saying that.
I'm saying that we're in a unique position now where more than ever in the history of this country, as far as I know, maybe since the Nixon shit, I don't know. Like, it's not just losing power, it's losing their freedom, their money, their life. And I think that changes that changes the formula of what's the norm here.
Well, you should be glad you live in America, because it's not an easy thing to just like fuck with voting machines and switch votes around, because you are subject to audits, you are subject to recounts. All of this plays out publicly. The states have all the authority to do this. And if Donald Trump says, well, you don't have the authority, but at that point, again, he has just done like a fascist coup. The Constitution is out. We're at civil war, and that's where we are. But it's not a simple thing to just switch votes around. You can't, like, that's a very easy thing to detect if you do an audit and you do a full recount, especially. Georgia, they did 3 recounts in 2020. Because Donald Trump was alleging that, Democrats like stole votes, and, you don't think people would know? Cause like, you don't think people would be like, well, hang on, because again, it's public. And so like people would be like, hang on, I definitely did not vote that way. So like these things are,
that first off, it's not like they're going to come back and be like, hey, did you vote this way? You don't get to like, this is like a shitty example, because probably in this situation, like, I don't know if they can just like fuck with the software to do it in that way, and it relies on a lot of other bits and pieces. Realistically speaking, it's like, I'm just saying, it's like the slow boil is what doesn't have the American public come and revolt, essentially. If they think that legitimately the Democrats lost the midterms, that would not result in like insane protesting. It's only when it's so blatant in your face. And I think that maybe now the reasoning that they're doing all of this blatant in your face shit is that we don't notice what's happening, the subtle move that will happen. I think, like, and also
none of this can be subtle.
None
of this can be subtle.
I don't like the idea that you're making them seem so like stupid and not plotting and not sneaky and not smart and unable to think through the shit we're talking through here. Like these guys are fucking geniuses, right? They are at breaking the law, at bending the law, at doing all this. These guys are the fucking like the best criminals in the history of criminals. Okay, and
I don't agree with that. I don't agree. They're lucky that they have. I mean, I guess it's not luck. I mean, Donald Trump fostered a relationship of like power and fear, and that he uses that to whip the Republican Party into line. And if we had a Republican Party that was willing to hold him accountable, then everything would look different. But he has all these enablers in Congress, and I think the American people are waking up now in a way that they didn't before to how bad this guy is, how corrupt he is. And I think it's like death by 1,000 cuts. Like literally, he's putting on a clinic for like how to drop down into the 20 percentage points for approval within like the first 2 years. Like everything he's doing is massively unpopular. There's literally nothing that he's doing that is not turning off voters. They don't like the Epstein stuff. They don't like the ICE stuff. They don't like Iran. They don't like the maybe Venezuela. They were okay with that, but like they don't like the policy stuff. They don't like that their energy bills are going up. They don't like the tariffs. Like nothing. And so I'm not seeing this like gang of geniuses that you're seeing. I'm sure they have capable lawyers or whatever that will try to help them come up with novel ideas to declare martial law and seize voting machines. But
I'm just saying I don't know if it'll be that blatant. I'm just saying that I expect something will happen that I haven't expected. I'll expect that they'll try something, that it's going to be very clever. I might not see it coming. I might not even know that it happened. You might just think nothing happened and that Trump somehow fucking pulled out a miracle win and there's no reason to do a recount. And like, there's nothing we can find. Like, we literally can't know. Like, the idea that
we have mandatory recounts, like states have, if they're within a
within a percentage,
yeah, there's mandatory recounts. But if there again, any group can challenge the legitimacy of elections, and with enough like resources, they can force audits, they can force recounts. It's not terribly difficult to do these things.
So I'm saying it's not just like, can they break the law and change the ones to a zero? Yes, of course they can do that, and they can probably be sneaky about it. But that's obviously conspiratorial. It's just like illegal shit. But we've seen that Watergate type shit in the past. It's also how much of a what can they do to keep people from coming out to vote? Right? Democrats certainly have an edge right now, but the
that's
more
putting
that
it lightly, Dan.
Sure. Well, no, I mean they have an edge on the Senate.
It's
not even.
It's unprecedented what is happening, Dan. These shifts, the shifts away from the Republicans is unprecedented in modern times.
I'm just saying a lot of small cuts removes that lead in part, right? Like a lot of strategic disenfranchising can happen between now and November, and there's no one to stop him.
I don't agree. Listen.
Who's going to stop him? When we're giving him the voting machines,
like
right
we
now?
will literally stop this man. Do you understand? Like
Me?
No. Like all of us. I'm saying like that's my white pill. Okay, so I genuinely believe, and I genuinely have faith in like my fellow countrymen and women, that if he were to do something to the extremes that you're suggesting, that we would shut everything down. We would shut everything down. And I don't think that this man, this sundowning mad king, has nearly the kind of institutional support that he would need to basically pull off a coup. Like what you're saying is like he would do a coup, do a slow and you say like, well, he could be more clever about it. And so maybe it's not as on the nose as just, changing voting machine stuff. But the results are going to amount to the same. Like in order for him to stop this bloodbath that's coming in November, he would have to disenfranchise millions of people. And there is no subtle way to do that. There is no subtle way to do that.
How would you react, hypothetically speaking, if we were watching the live midterm results and it just came back, it was close as fuck, but in the end, Republicans kept a fucking narrow lead. There was a huge turnout for these people that we didn't expect. I guess, polling came out later and said that trans stuff was a bigger issue than we thought it was.
That's a good question. I would be depressed for 4 to 6 months, and then I would get back into, okay, what do we do now? And I would just focus on the general.
See, what I'm telling you is that like you're not protesting. You just threw away the show. Like if he stole the election there and you didn't know he stole it, you're not out there protesting. You're not doing this stuff. You don't know.
No, but Dan, what you're suggesting literally is not possible in our system.
Why?
because in order for him to do that, he would have to disenfranchise millions of voters, and there is no way that he's just going to do that and no one's going to notice. There are going to be Democratic lawyers.
He's disenfranchising millions of immigrants. He's just doing it out in the open right now.
Huh? What do you mean?
He's going after immigrants right now, millions of them. It's just out in the open. Like, just because you're saying he's not willing to do this, is it a step too far even for Trump, a guy desperate to stay in power? And I just disagree. I don't think the number fucking matters.
No,
he's going to be.
I don't think you're taking my point though. Like, this plan would necessarily involve in disenfranchising millions of voters, and you cannot do that in a way that survives scrutiny. You can't do that in a way that survives audits and recounts. And that is what our system allows for. That's what makes our systems so secure.
I disagree. I would point to sham elections that happen in other countries.
But they didn't. But they don't. But they're, again, in America, we have the benefit of having much stronger institutions and much stronger checks on this kind of corruption. You can get away with that shit in Russia because at the end of the day, Putin, whatever he says goes. Like, in America, every state is sovereign in this way, and they run their own election systems. And day one, Democrats would sue these states, and they would be entitled to recounts and audits, and they would discover this massive fraud. You can't just do what you're doing without
what about
it.
If it takes a while?
But that's not how it works, though. That's not how this works, though. No,
it could work that way. Why not?
Well, why didn't that happen in 2020 then? I don't understand.
I already answered that question.
You said like, oh, well, that's just different. I mean, like that.
It is different. It is different. He didn't have the support then at all. He had no support to do it. His VP wasn't supporting him. You need people to support you to do this. Broad support from the Justice Department.
Even if Mike Pence would have gone along with the January 6th scheme,
it's not just
even if he would have done that, they wouldn't have
him. No one was with him.
No, but I'm saying, but even if Mike Pence had gone along with that in 2020, that would not have survived judicial review. The courts would not have let him do that. They wouldn't have let him like reinterpret the Constitution in that way. They would not have been successful.
It is so.
I cannot wait until we get past these midterms, because you're either going to move the goalposts or you're going to tell me, okay, maybe you're onto something. Maybe we're going to be okay. It's going to be one of those two things.
Well, there's a third option. And that is that you're going to be in a fucking prison somewhere, and I'm going to be live streaming from like Vietnam and be like, oh, these dumb bastards. Well, I tried to fucking warn them.
I mean, take me with you. Why wouldn't you take me with you? And my girlfriend and her family and my family. You have the resources. I know you have the resources.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
You wouldn't take me with you, Dan? That's kind of fucked up.
There's like a whole list of people that would be like begging for the plane ride, you know? It's like
I realize that. I realize that now. But maybe you could like set me up with a guy
on the list. What do you want me to say? A guy? You think I know a guy for exfilling political streamers out of the United States?
I mean, I met you one time, so I feel like there's a relationship there that you would probably want to honor and protect.
I've been thinking about it, by the way, and I think the place to go isn't New Zealand. And the reason why is there's a ton of billionaires that have already set up there, and I think it's very likely that the local populace would rise up against them just to take all their shit, and they would have no representation. I think the move, okay, if I had to be a betting man, I think it's going to be something like Argentina or Chile or
Venezuela.
No. I like those two because you can kind of blend in a little bit. And then the other place that would be good is going to be just kind of like island nations that no one really gives a fuck, so to speak. Like, not Switzerland, that's in the middle, landlocked of a lot of stuff, but I don't know, like a fucking Malta or something like that.
Come on now. Yeah. Listen, if that actually happens, bro, they're drone striking you, man. They got Palantir, they got the surveillance. They're fucking drone striking you, bro.
I'm not a threat anymore.
You're going to be a dissident in exile, and they will find you and they will drone strike you, because
they only drone strike the dissidents that have any impact or influence, and I have none, so I'll be fine. They're not gonna give a fuck about me. It's like the same as a random fucking YouTuber talking to 5 people bitching about something.
Well, if you're right and I'm wrong, then a year from now we're not even gonna be able to have this conversation anymore. Like, like they will start rounding people up and tossing them in camps. Yeah,
it like the slow boil of our frog life. Okay, but you have to understand.
Okay, but the whole premise of like the frog in a boiling pot is that people kind of get used to it over time and they just start accepting like certain things. But when you look at the country, I guess when you and me look at the country
like
right
the
now,
government seizing voting machines that are the statute of limitations.
When you
we
and
just
I
like
look
kind
at,
of moved on from that.
When you and I look at the country right now, I guess we see two very different things. Because I see a country that is energized in a way that has never been in my lifetime. It's like what's happening right now. The turnout is like absolutely insane. And there are so many people that are paying attention to politics now that weren't before. There's like fucking tens of millions of people watching every move this administration does like a hawk. And so this is a country this is a population that is primed for a massive revolt / revolution if something like what you're suggesting happens. And
can I ask you,
I just want to bet on America. I would be willing to bet money on America on this one.
One question for you. And this came to me before, and I guess I can kind of bring it up now. I think I have the answer, and it's scary to me, but why did they seize that voting machine or the voting machines that were there?
I think it's probably because Donald Trump picked up a phone and said he saw a tweet, alleging that Fulton County had
and a judge signed off on that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. But I think that whatever they came up with as a pretense to take to a judge, I don't know. But I'm sure it started with Trump. Like literally, you can't put it past Trump. He maybe just like saw a fucking tweet and was like, "We got to get on that. We got to get on that. The fucking Italians are trying to switch votes in Fulton County or whatever."
Could it be possible to get access to the machines themselves and understand and reverse engineer it and really see what they're dealing with, so that they can do something in the next year?
But how do you survive the audits and the recounts?
Be the person who does the audit and the recount.
They don't do that. That's not up to them. It's independent agencies that do that. Nonpartisan groups do that. That's the systems that these states have in place.
Maybe they won't have those in place. Maybe that's the plan, is to get rid of that moving forward.
But okay, well, I could just say, well, what if we didn't have a constitution and he's just going to take over? It's like, okay, well, at that point, whatever. But these states do have the authority to conduct their own audits and their own investigations, and they do.
Can the states get rid of that?
Sure, but there's no state that's done that yet. Like they would have no legal mechanism to get rid of if you wanted to sue.
I need a real explanation of this voting seizure thing, because to me,
this is like your I win card, though. You think that it means
it's not I win.
It has no relevance to recounts, though. That has no relevance to recounts. Like you're saying,
I
ask you, how do you get
related to something bigger?
Yeah, but I ask you, like, how would the administration survive like recounts and audits in Georgia or whatever? And you're like, well, what if they just did the recounts? And it's like, I don't think you understand the systems, because that's not how it works. The administration cannot just come into Georgia and be like, we're going to do the recount. It doesn't work that way. They can't do that. They have no authority to do that. You talked earlier about how the states have all this, like, remember you said the states have like a ton of,
yeah, the problem is when the states want Trump to be the president. That's the problem.
Listen, if that happens, there will be a revolt / potential revolution in this country. If that happens.
Not if you don't know anything nefarious went on. If it survives all the recounts from the independent commission, are you going to question it? Are you going to question it? Hypothetically, let's say, fuck it, Trump wins Georgia, and it's enough to put him over 51%, and it goes to the recount, comes back the same. Then it goes to the independent commission, and the independent commission comes back the same. Are you done?
I would accept that. Yeah, that's what happened in 2024. That's what happened in 2016.
That sounds like, especially if that was only one state, that sounds like maybe potentially the amount of people that you would have to really get to would be pretty small.
I wish you were as patriotic as I am.
I am patriotic, which is why I want to do what it takes within the confines of the system.
No, but if you were patriotic,
intimidate this type of behavior from not happening.
If you were patriotic, then you would know that American election security is very rigorous, very beefy. There is no subtle way to just like change a bunch of votes. That shit will be audited. It will be recounted. And there's no indication that any state would ever go along with something like this. And if they did, there's no way they could hide that. Like if they actually rig the system in that kind of way. And again, there's all these layers of accountability. These things are done in like very public ways. You can't just like do these things like behind closed doors. Like they bring in, do you understand that when they do recounts, they bring in like there's a Republican and a Democrat, and they sit there and they literally watch the people recount these votes. Like what happened in Florida. That's what they did. Like we have to have witnesses there, and it has to be bipartisan. So if the administration or some state said, we're not going to do that anymore, we're going to do it on our own, and we're not going to have it be public, or people would immediately be like, well, they're obviously stealing this election, and they would revolt. There would be a popular revolt immediately if they did something like that.
I don't know. I'm trying to think about how I want to think about this. Let me ask you this, because I know different states have different rules. How does it work in most states, or even some states? Actually, let's take the worst state, because that's probably the one they'll go after. The worst state. Is there any states where you can't verify your vote once it's done?
No.
Meaning you can verify you voted, but you can't. There's no way for you to verify, okay, this was definitely voted for a Democrat.
No.
It says Democrat.
My understanding is that every state you can like look that shit up. Yeah. I could be wrong. Let me look it up.
I think it may not be that way in some states. What are you pulling up and what are you reading? Read out loud for the class. What ChatGPT say? I'm okay with ChatGPT here, by the way. This is like the fastest way to get the answer. So
it's Copilot.
Okay. Oh God, I'm not okay with Copilot. At least do fucking.
Okay. All right, fine. I'll do that.
Claude.
And
Claude. I want Claude.
I have paid ChatGPT, so maybe that'll be better.
Okay. Good.
Does every state have? I'm just going to tell you what the prompt is, so there's no fuckery. Okay. Does every state have systems in place
for the person themselves
that
to verify?
Yes, that allow voters to verify that their vote was both counted and accurate?
What are the results?
Hang on, it's thinking. I got the paid one. It's got to think a little bit longer.
Okay.
Which one do you use? Do you use AI?
Claude.
I got a lot of Luddites in my chat who say never use it.
Well.
Okay, Dan, I got to give this to you. Okay. No U.S. states generally do not allow voters to personally verify that their specific vote was recorded correctly for a candidate. What most states allow instead is verification that your ballot was received and counted, but not how it was counted. Hold on.
There you go.
Hold on. Just wait.
Scary.
Hang on. How accuracy is verified instead. System level checks. Since individual voters cannot verify their specific vote, the system relies on institutional safeguards such as paper ballots or voter verifiable paper trails. Many jurisdictions use paper ballots that can be audited. Post-election audits. Risk limiting audits compare paper ballots with electronic tallies. Bipartisan election administration. Poll workers and counting boards typically include members of multiple parties. And then public observation. Counting and audits are often open to observers from campaigns and the public. Bottom line, you can usually verify that your ballot was received and counted. You cannot verify that the system recorded your vote for a specific candidate. This is intentional and widely considered necessary to maintain ballot secrecy and prevent coercion. In other words, U.S. election systems or U.S. elections prioritize secret ballots and public auditing rather than individual vote verification. So you got me on that one. I was wrong about that one. I thought you for sure you could look up like how your vote was
scarier though, right? So that's scarier because now.
Well, has it ever happened, Dan? Like, has it ever happened? Have we ever had a situation where there was massive fraud in this country?
This is the first time I've ever heard of the federal government seizing a voting machine outside the statute of limitations.
No, but I mean,
signing off.
No, but I mean, potentially disenfranchising millions of people in whatever way you can come up with.
I don't think Trump cares. It could be tens of millions of people. He doesn't care.
Right, but I'm pushing back against like you do keep suggesting that it is theoretically possible for them to like change the votes up somehow in a way that would not be detected through like audits and public accountings of what happened. And
yes.
each individual state, they do have rigorous processes that my understanding is like most or all of them, they conduct these like out in the open, like in public. Like most states, I think, have a paper ballot backup. And so they have these systems in place exactly for this kind of thing, because we don't want to make it easy for someone to just change votes. Like that is a strength of our system. And it's been challenged many, many times. Like election results get challenged all the time. We have mandatory recounts if it's within a certain threshold, like 2% or 1% or something like that. And we've seen these processes play out again and again and again and again. And every single time they play out, the people that run the show, the people that are administered these elections and actually like are in charge of the back end stuff, they all say the same thing. And everybody agrees that American elections are extremely secure in ways that like China and North Korea are not.
So what I'm asking is, my theory is why they went after this voting machine is specifically because of this. I think that, it's one of the only ways they could get it and reverse engineer it. I think that they're probably clever enough to put essentially some modification in there. And I think what happens is if at 10 p.m. when all of the Fulton County votes are starting to come in, that now it's going to do this, algo or something like that.
You don't think they're going to use a different machine?
In the state that just gave them permission to have the one? No, I don't.
So okay, hang on. So your theory is that they took this voting machine so they can like fuck with the numbers, and then they're going to give the voting machine back to Georgia.
The only reason I say this is because I don't understand why they would go after the machine, and I'm struggling to understand the huge amount of.
Oh no! I just told you though. I just told you. Donald Trump.
But I don't want you to think that I'm like a schizophrenic conspiracy guy, because I've tried to rack my head. Why expose yourself?
I'll tell you.
So blatantly on getting this voting machine. It doesn't make sense.
I will tell you. Donald Trump is a pathetic, fragile narcissist who wants so badly for it to be the case that 2020 was stolen, because to this day it drives him fucking insane that he lost that election. And he, used his DOJ and used his intelligence apparatus to try to, like probe this machine, because he's like desperately trying to find something concrete that he can show his like people, holy shit, they stole the election. That's what he's doing. That's what this is about. It's all a vanity project. The idea that they are taking this voting machine so that they can reverse engineer, I mean, that's really unlikely. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be software updates.
Let me give you this then. If that doesn't happen, if there is no big, look, they stole the election, I can prove it here, what then? Why did they take it if that doesn't happen? What if it's just quietly one of those things, well, I guess we didn't find anything and gave it back?
Well, at that point, I mean, I doubt Georgia or Fulton County, because that's what the
blue. They just gave it to the guy.
No, but that's a blue district. That's a blue district. They can just order a different voting machine, or they can decide.
Isn't that mandated by the state, not the city?
I don't know. I don't know. But like,
these are questions that we need, me and you, because I don't want to make it seem like you don't know, because I don't know either. But these are things that we need to have understandings of, because it's tremendously important to understand how this works. There is no mechanism for us to know that this was stolen at all. Especially if you cast your fucking vote for the blue, and it says blue on your screen.
I just told you. You're saying that our systems. You're saying that our systems are not secure enough. But I just told you this is how you verify that there was not massive fraud. You have we have legal. We talked about it 1,000 times. You have a group that sues the county or sues the state and says, we think there's evidence of fraud, and then there's like they have recourse to audit.
They have a recourse to look at the data. They have a recourse. Yes, but what you're missing here is they can't audit the individual votes. All they can audit is that the number in the database and the number of paper ballots. They say 300D, 200R, and as long as those match up, that's it. They can't say Dan Saltman, did he vote for R or for D? Or they can't. They can't do that. That's not possible.
For full recounts. For full recounts, they absolutely do that. They count it publicly. I told you, they count it publicly. They hold it up and they say, hold on. Let me just read what the process of
you just read the thing that says that they can't do it because that could involve coercing people to vote a specific way.
I just looked it up. I can just you want me to tell you?
You just read it. You don't need to look it up again. It says that it's not possible.
I didn't read how audits work. I just want to read how audits work.
So they can coerce you, but only for a certain amount of time?
Can I just read how audits work? Because I feel like that would help the conversation. So there's pre-audit preparation. Election officials define the audit's objectives, select which contests or precincts will be examined, and prepare the ballot manifest and tally sheets. Clear objectives and documentation practices are emphasized as essential for transparency and accountability. Number 2, selecting the sample. Depending on state law, the audit may use a fixed percentage of precincts, a tiered approach, or a risk-limiting audit, which uses statistical methods to determine how many ballots must be checked to confirm the outcome with high confidence. Number 3, public audit section. Audits are conducted in public view. Officials often begin with a presentation explaining the process so observers can understand what will happen and why. Number 4, generating a random seed. To ensure transparency and prevent manipulation, the random selection of ballots is done publicly, often by rolling dice to generate a long random number or seed used to select ballot samples. Number 5, hand counting or reviewing ballots. Auditors manually inspect the selected paper ballots or voter verified paper records. The goal is to compare the human interpretation of the votes with the machine reported results. Number 6, comparing results and expanding if needed. If discrepancies exceed allowable thresholds, the audit expands to include more ballots. Number 7, documenting findings. Number 8, post-audit actions. So like, what
you've said doesn't mean anything.
But
I don't mean to be crass about it, but the fundamental issue is that no part in there lets you cross-reference Hutch to D.
Well, Dan,
at no
it
point.
seems like, listen.
Wait, hold on.
You know
that, right?
The code. Dan, you've cracked the code.
That's not fair.
This
has
been something that is alluded.
You're going straight to the end because you don't have an answer, so you're saying you're schizo now. That's not fair.
Dan,
that's not fair.
I'm not saying you're schizo. I'm saying you've cracked the code, okay? There have been many corrupt politicians throughout U.S. history that would have loved the ability to just manipulate votes and change votes and disenfranchise people in this kind of way.
But they were afraid of doing it.
But nobody could figure out how to do it until today because Dan Saltman, you just figured it out.
That's unfair.
They should hire you. I'm saying Trump should hire you and bring you on because you're
placating me. Listen, when you vote, and I thought this was the case, but I wasn't sure. When you vote, okay, you're going there. First off, they verify you can vote, and then you go to the machine and you press, it says, okay, are you allowed to vote? You are. And then you vote. And then essentially, once you've left in that machine, it just knows that you voted, but it does not say who you voted for or against. Okay? It doesn't. So now when you do these audits in the future, all it can know is that out of that machine, when I press the D button, I don't get to see it. Okay? I don't get to see the D when I press my D. I'm voting D. I'm pressing D. Out of the machine, two things happen. One, the machine itself may store that a D is in the database now at a certain time. A D was pressed, and it will spit out a paper ballot out the back saying D. Okay? Those are two things that are going to happen, but I can't verify either of them. So when you're talking about these audits that happen at the end, if I can't verify that a D was stored in the database and that a D was printed out of the machine, it doesn't matter what audit happens afterwards, because at the end of the day, they're auditing results that were manipulated from the start. And there's no way to check that to be the case.
Listen, I just did a new prompt. How do election auditors and recounters determine if there was something like voting machine manipulation? Did I read this?
Yes.
I feel like we're both learning something there. Okay, so hand counting.
That's not hard because I'm very stupid. So I'm stupid, not you.
I mean, I'm learning. I didn't necessarily know how these processes work, so this is good. Number 1, hand counting paper ballots. The most important safeguard is the paper ballot. Auditors manually inspect a sample, or in some cases all paper ballots, and compare them to machine reported totals. If machines were manipulated, the hand count would not match the electronic tally. Risk limiting audits expand the sample if discrepancies appear. Number 2, checking for discrepancies in ballot images. Some jurisdictions use ballot image audits, reviewing the digital scans produced by optical scan machines. So that would be them showing like the how they voted and not just that they voted. Research shows this method can be fooled if a machine is compromised. A University of Michigan study demonstrated that an attacker with access to a voting machine could manipulate ballot images without altering paper ballots. This is why experts emphasize auditing the physical paper, not just images. Number 3, examining system logs and hash values. Auditors review system event logs, software hash values, chain of custody records, boot logs, and configuration files. Number 4, logic and accuracy testing. Before and after elections, machines undergo tests to using predetermined test ballots. If a machine has been tampered with, it may miscount the test ballots. Post-election L&A tests help detect manipulation that occurred during the election. Number 5, comparing multiple independent records. Auditors cross-check poll book check-ins, number of ballots issued, number of ballots scanned, provisional ballot counts, spoiled ballot logs. Number 6, investigating anomalies or outliers. Auditors look for unusual vote patterns, sudden shifts in machine behavior, precincts with statistically improbable results. Number 7, review findings from independent security researchers. Security researchers like J. Alex Halderman have uncovered vulnerabilities in U.S. voting equipment, including ballot scanners and ballot marking devices. Their work has led to stronger audit procedures and better detection methods. Almost done. Number 8, full recounts when discrepancies appear. If an audit finds significant mismatches, states may escalate to expanded audits, full hand recounts, and forensic examinations of machines. So there are multiple systems in place that these states conduct or use to conduct these audits and recounts. Would you concede that it does appear that it would be extremely difficult to change like millions of votes and just get away with it without anybody noticing? It seems unlikely that they would be able to do that.
I think that it would be difficult, and I think that it would be challenging. Yeah, very difficult, very challenging. A lot of moving parts, likely to have it discovered. But it may be that there's a way that I don't know about. Like this has just been me speculating. I don't understand why they took the machine. It gives me great pause, great worry, great concern. One, that it was able to be accomplished. 2, that what they're going to do with that machine is scary. It is. And I think to hand wave it all that fucking Trump administration is morons is naive. They're not morons. They are they're certainly the figureheads are morons, but there are hyper intelligent people that want to maximize the amount of money that they make and push their religious views behind the scenes. And they have think tanks and studies and everything else and risks that they're willing to take to do it. So yes, I absolutely concur that the odds of doing it and having it be successful are incredibly difficult, and matching the paper ballots and all that. And it's a whole challenge, but I don't think it's impossible. I think it's able to be done. And I think that they don't need to do it worldwide. They need to do it in a few spots. And if they can do it in a way that we don't even think to question, that's the goal, right? You don't fight the battle you didn't know you had. You just thought you lost Georgia for some reason. They just really care about trans issues there. That's it. Like that's the goal. If you can get it to that point, it's not no women can come vote without your your birth certificate shit. Like the reason I think they're throwing all that stuff out right now is to distract. I do. I don't know. A certain amount of dissuading people to come vote in the first place, but also a certain amount of showmanship, making you look over here while they're doing something else behind the scenes. It's a little bit scary. That's my view. Maybe it's doomer. I just don't think that there's no reason whatsoever that they did this. I think there was a reason that they did it. Trump has shown himself to do whatever he wants to accomplish his goal, and the stakes cannot be higher for him in the administration. It's not losing power. It's jail. It's financial disgorgement. It's everything. It's legacy gone for him and everyone around him.
Okay. Well, I wish I could persuade you to my view that this country is very resilient. This electorate is very energized, and his chances of beating the system are just as bad as they were in 2020. I don't think I can convince you of that, and it is my sincere hope that we can get to these midterms, we get past these midterms, and we have a really good night. And I hope at that point you feel a little bit better about like the prospects. You still have to be vigilant for 2028, of course, but that's like the best I can hope for here. But I think there's probably like a good purpose for people like you having this view. Like probably a good thing to have people that are like really kind of pessimistic about like what's going to happen in these midterms, because that's probably going to result in more people paying attention. So,
that's not. I said before, that's not true. Being pessimistic has a lesser turnout than thinking that you're about to dominate, which is why we always want to say that, man, we're going to fucking smash the Republicans. Oh my God. I don't even think, we don't even need the boomers to come out. The young people are so fucking crazy to go out.
Well, then that's a good argument to keep your doomer shit to yourself then, right?
Well, sure, but we're talking about realistic stuff. I don't know if this is true. Someone in your chat said only 27 states require a paper ballot trail for audits. And if that's true, that's scary, right? Because then all there is once you cast your ballot, It's a 1 or a 0 for a D or an R, and that's it. That's the end of the story. There
Well,
is no additional audit.
All right, well, let me just look it up then. How do states that do not require paper ballots verify the accuracy of
I
each?
feel like every time you ask ChatGPT this, let me be the answer. 1, there is a persuasive system in place to thoroughly audit as things come in. 2, an independent committee looks and tries to identify any vulnerabilities in code. 3, outside investigators will come and sometimes do a samplistic determination. Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't get any answer out of this thing, of it. It's a little scary. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah, 27 states. What do they do?
Well, you'll be happy to learn that well, I don't know if you'll be happy, but states that do not use voter verified paper ballots rely on procedural controls, electronic records, and reconciliation checks, but they cannot provide the same level of verifiable accuracy as states with paper trails. Security experts have repeatedly warned that without a paper record, a voter's intent cannot be independently verified in the event of a cyber attack or a malfunction. How these states attempt to verify accuracy without paper. So they do the logic and accuracy testing, like I mentioned before. They look at the machine event logs and security logs. They look at poll book and turnout reconciliation. So officials compare number of voters who checked in, number of ballots cast, number of votes recorded by machines. Number 4, they do provisional and absentee ballot verification. Number 5, they do post-election procedural audits. These audits check whether machines were sealed properly, chain of custody rules were followed, memory cards match expected configurations. So there's also digital like forensic audits. Like remember like the cyber ninjas
that's my world though. So
right.
You can be in and out and be undetected. Like that's a shrimple ass. It
really?
is possible to do that. Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, listen, can't promise you. I guess it's possible. I guess it's possible
like
it might happen.
Is this not scary stuff when you're doing this?
Yeah.
But who owns Dominion voting machines?
It's some new guy bought it. The new like conservative guy.
Okay. Does that give you pause?
Sure. But I mean, listen, you're old enough to know that like the voting machine stuff, like this happens every election, literally every election, every midterm, every election, one side or the other does the voting machine stuff. And all I can tell you,
it's different by far this time to a level, I sound like Trump, to a level we have never seen before. These guys don't lose power. They lose their liberty and their wealth. It's never been like this before.
I mean, listen, I don't know if they necessarily are worried about like going to jail, because I do think he probably intends to pardon himself and everybody in the cabinet. And so there's that. But and there's also your private citizens or private entities are very limited in their ability to like directly sue members of an administration. There are, I think, ways that it can happen, but they're very, very limited. So I don't know if they're worried about that. I don't know if they're necessarily worried about that much.
Okay. You do not take these guys seriously at all. And that scares me a little bit. You need to take them incredibly seriously. Don't think that they're just a bunch of goofy old fucks and that can't get anything done. They're serious, dangerous, wild fucking animals that need to be treated with extreme caution and assume that they're always 10 steps ahead of you. That's it. Because they're sneaky. They'll break rules we don't break because they don't believe in democracy. They believe in winning.
It's not that. I don't think that they have really bad intentions and criminal intentions. It's not that I think that they're beyond trying to steal an election. It's more, it sounds like I have more faith in our systems and our constitution and in the larger system that it can be resilient once again in the face of Donald Trump, because the last time he just humiliated himself when he tried to steal the last election. I mean, like he was.
Now we are looping. It was different. You can skip that whole thing. It's different that time.
I don't think the Supreme Court is literally the same exact Supreme Court. So
yeah, but the Supreme Court didn't know that he was ever gonna get reelected again. So they're like, this motherfucker is done. This guy's cooked. Trump never heard of that motherfucker. But now,
but they had But they had the power to make it so that he was elected, right?
No, that would have been impossible. He wasn't literally that would have been impossible. That is the too big to rig in that situation because he wasn't prepared for that. He didn't have the team in place that would follow illegal orders or do any of the wild shit that he did this time, that he will do this time.
Okay.
Right? He had people that even his VP won't follow along with him. And you can't keep comparing these two situations.
All right. Well, listen.
He has sycophants this time. They'll die, ride or die for him. Last time he had actual politicians. That was his mistake. He won't do that again.
Okay. When we have the midterms and when we get past these midterms and when the Democrats have a good night, I want to close by just asking you this question. Are you going to move the goalpost or are you going to join me in thinking that maybe America will be resilient once again in the face of Trump and we will get past him and this moment?
How much are you expecting that what's the bare minimum we're gonna win in your mind, since you're the politics guy, for the House?
Again, I think like the consensus right now is like the realistic range would be anywhere between like 22 and 35 seats. I won't be happy unless it's like a fucking blowout night. That's the attitude I went into.
What number are you like, this is fucking insane, I can't believe we only won 3 House seat majority? Is that it? Like, what's that number where you're like something crazy happened?
I'm talking to Laksha tomorrow so I can ask him. I don't know enough about
whatever that number is, you figure out what that number is. And if it's that number or less, meaning like Trump gives himself, oh yeah, the Democrats won the House, but we still have the Senate, and it's fucking, we have the House by like 2, and Fetterman and another guy are still in there, then then that was all part of the plan. And that may be part of the fucking plan, by the way, to have Democrats win the House, but winning in a way that still can't accomplish anything because Fetterman and someone else isn't willing to go along the way.
Well, Fetterman's not in the House, so
whoever is going to be the new Fetterman at that point. Sorry.
Listen, that does sound very.
As far as like dick sucking the Trump administration.
You're giving yourself like a lot of like wiggle room here. But listen, like let's just put
Wait, isn't that a fair thing? Wouldn't you be happy if Dems took control of the House? But it was just, thank God, but it's only by 2.
I'll take the W, but I would be disappointed. So like I told my chat I
would be like, this is controlled fucking opposition if you win by 2.
Okay, well listen, I mean, I think the night is going to go very similar to last November. And I fired up my stream and I told my chat, I was like, I'm not going to be happy unless this is like a really convincing win. And what ended up happening ended up going beyond what I expected. It was even worse for Republicans than I expected. So I had a fucking great night in November. And I hope that the same thing happens this time around. I'm not going to be happy unless it's a pretty decisive win. I mean, I really am not going to be like, I'm going to be a little disappointed if we don't take back the Senate. And that's, most people think that that's going to be hard, but I'm not going to be happy unless that happens. But if that happens, Dan, and we do have a really good night.
If you get the Senate, yeah, oh yeah, I'll admit defeat for sure, absolutely. But I won't admit defeat if it's like they keep the Senate and then we only have 2 seats in the House. And that to me is controlled opposition.
That is very, very unlikely to happen.
Will you be okay with me saying I won if that's the case? If Democrats have like a 2 or 3 seat majority in the House?
I'll be disappointed, but I wouldn't be ready to like join you.
No, you have to get. I want that one. The bet has to be more than how many House psychopaths do we have on the Democrat side?
You don't really
know,
have
like Fetterman and people like that are senators, but
I don't think we have any psychopaths in the House. I mean,
I'm talking about people that will like suck the dick of Trump, so to speak.
We have
how many House Democrats signed on to the War Act?
Anywhere between like 6 and 12, I would say, out of over 200, but anywhere between like 6 and 12. We need to win.
If it's less than 5, then it's controlled. So if we only have a 5-seat win,
like you mean they stole it? Like what do you mean?
Yeah, it was stolen, and you're not going to even look for the recount. We won by 5. Yay!
Well,
hooray,
there will be recounts. There will be recounts. So, listen, Dan, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have a really good night, and I think I hope that you text me when that happens and you say, you know what, I feel a little bit better. And I cannot wait until we get there because frankly, I can't fucking stand the doomerism and radicalization that I'm seeing happen these days. It's driving me insane.
Well, you got to start acknowledging the crazy shit going on around you. You can't just hand wave it all.
I do acknowledge this.
You move on from it very quickly.
No, that's
you're not scared enough about this voting machine seizure. You have no answer for it. It's nuts. It's crazy. It's beyond the pale in every safeguard that you've talked about this conversation.
There's a jump from
went out
there's
the
a
window
leap from that. You're leaping from that to maybe they disenfranchise millions of voters, which that is a very big stretch, Dan.
No, because we started this conversation with they can't do that. The legal arm of the state would claw it back and do it.
I don't think they're going to use the same machine, Dan. That sounds kind of crazy to me, Dan.
Well, that's not what I asked about. I want to know how they have it right now, because in your world, this never should have gone through, right?
Yeah, but you're just playing an I win card for like Donald Trump has done really fucked up, alarming things. No, but there's a cavern between that and he's going to disenfranchise millions of voters, Dan. There's a gigantic cavern between those things, and
I don't think there's any cavern. I don't think he gives a fuck about disenfranchising millions of people. So there is no difference. The only difference is now we're watching him. We're watching him break a state law that's out of the statute of limitations, seize a voting machine while the director of national intelligence is standing by.
They might be able to assert some. They might be able to assert some authority within the executive branch that would allow them to, like, for example, if it was true that Venezuela hacked the voting machines in Fulton County, then there would be a legitimate basis to, like, take the voting machine and analyze it and see
after 6 years.
Yeah, there's a national security concern there, right? Like, wouldn't if it happened, right? But they could have used that authority. I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know enough about that particular thing. I know a lot of people. I follow a lot of legal experts, and a lot of people are very alarmed by that. And I'm not intelligent enough to tell you why. But it's not like I don't think that stuff matters. It's just the thing that
matters greatly, and you got to keep your eyes on the prize.
No, but you think that because I think your ideas are fantastical and blue and on and a little schizophrenic, some of them. You think that means that I don't care, but that's not what that means. It just means that I think that...
I didn't say you didn't care. I think you're
well, I don't care enough is what you're saying, but that's not what it means. I just don't
care a lot. You're just delusional about how people are. I know that people are evil. I know that people will do anything to win. And you think that people are inherently good. And I know that they're inherently evil.
And I think that you're delusional about the girthy arm of the American Constitution, the girthy cock of the American. That's what I think you're delusional about. I think you think that these things.
You're like Dr. K. You're the political Dr. K. You're here like,
No, IRI is more. IRI is way more white-pilled than I am. You need
to do some AOE healing. Don't worry, it's gonna be fine. There's gonna be some AOE.
I do think we need to do some AOE healing. I think we should do some like reforms when we take power and actually, like have the ability to do policies. Listen, Dan, I gotta go. I did enjoy this conversation. Yeah, and all
right,
we can.
How did I rank compared to the other arguments? How many have you done so far?
Like dozens. I take viewer call-ins like dozens.
Oh, well, not counting viewer count. Only from like streamers and stuff. I want to know where I rank.
Well, I would say that I found this conversation the least aggravating, and I feel like at least
that's good.
You were willing to flesh out hypotheticals, I think, a lot more than anybody that I talked to. I may disagree with your hypotheticals, but you were actually like giving it that kind of thought. And so, you know what, Dan? I'm going to give you number one. I'm going to say number one. You of all the people, you had the most compelling arguments.
Dude, I love it. All right, I'm going out on that. You know what you do when you're negotiating, guys, and you get a number you want? You leave. I love you. See you later.
Bye, Dan. I mean that too. I'm not even making that up. I think he was the best. Everybody else is just like, I don't know. They'll fucking do it. They'll just fucking do it. At least he's coming at me with some ideas. I may think the ideas are a little far-fetched, but